In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all having a wonderful night tonight. Hope you're doing well on this fine Monday, that all of your fingers are somehow still intact after the weekend. Yep, I did not lose any interdigitation, any use of my hands, fortunately, and I can see that the chatters are also using their fingers to great effect down there. So before we get into the night, how's everybody's night going here on the panel?
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Fantastic, Bones. Is Richard back?
Yes, sir.
Oh, perfect. Excellent. All righty. Well, we do have some fun things to talk about, some not so fun things to talk about, but I suppose we should finally be done with this. So we're just going to get right into it. The first thing we're going to talk about is gun owners of America. They have filed their lawsuit against the big, beautiful bill to gut the NFA. On this Independence Day, our team does what Congress failed to do, fight for gun owners. Now, again, to go over this for like the 10th time, just really briefly, we got rid of the $200 tax stamp on suppressors, SBRs, AOWs, and SBSs, but we still have the NFA registration. So we won something, but not really what people actually wanted when it comes to the NFA. And then don't even get started on everything else that also happened to be inside of the big, beautiful bill, right? But just keeping it centralized to the gun owners topic. Very, very small win in there. Now, to suppressor companies and stuff like that, it's probably going to be pretty big when it actually takes effect, which I keep hearing the same two timelines being argued. It's either 90 days or it's January 1st, and I have them arguing in every comment section of every video that I post about it. So whatever one of those dates happens to be the real one, I think you will see a big boost to suppressor sales. Now, the only small silver lining through all of that is the fact that because the tax got removed from the tax stamp, so there's a non-tax tax stamp, however you want to think about that, I think that it gives these rights organizations, these legal organizations, a better foothold, a stronger argument against the NFA in general. So it might lead to a total win down the road, even though they could have done it in the first place, but just decided not to for some reason. So that is kind of, and I think there's at least two other lawsuits being brought forward by different organizations. So there's sort of a multi-pronged attack that hopefully has better footing, because now there's literally no tax on the tax stamp and it's just a registry, and these things aren't even firearms. So it's a very complicated topic.
Republicans suing Republicans to get rights back for Republicans. I think the only people there winning are the lawyers.
Yeah, the lawyers, the lobbyists, and I mean, Republicans get paid either way, right?
Well, yeah, lawyers, lobbyists, Republicans, yeah, same thing.
Yeah. I mean, and to everybody who was already buying suppressors or other items, it's going to be a slight tax burden relief on you. you know, depending on how many of these items you buy every year. For most people, it's probably only 1 or 2. So in the grand scheme of things, it's a very, very slight tax reduction.
Yeah,
But who knows? Maybe. Oh, good.
I just want a refund. Give me my $600 back.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know. I get this
Free
going a lot
Christmas
too. Is
government
people
will
are like,
take your
but what? I just bought one. Do I get my money back? It's like, no.
Yeah, the government will happily take your money, but they will never give it back. So once it's theirs, goodbye forever.
You know, I think that they should backdate the clause a year and say, listen, if you did purchase any within the past year, any stamps you filed within the last year, you will get that back on your tax refund at the end of the year, right? For your 2025 tax refund, if you did purchase them, that would be cool. It's never going to happen, but that would
Well,
be cool.
unless it doesn't take effect until January 1, and then it wouldn't even count for 2025, right?
Oh, yeah, then they'd be 20. Oh, that's that they punt it down the road next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Bones, are you a traitor to the trench crew? That's what Randy's starting drama in the chat. Unbelievable.
The trench crew doesn't even actually exist. It's more of an idea. What happens is Trench goes, "Hey, do you guys want to go live?" And we go, "When?" And he goes, "Right now." And we go, and if we're available, we go live. And if we're not, then we don't. That's exactly how it goes every single time. And I have no life right now, so I always go live.
That makes me happy because that means that this is not the worst run stream on the internet, because at least I schedule these things like 2 hours in advance.
Believe it or not, there have been times. Love Trench Grenade, great dude. There'll be times though where he's like, "Hey, do you want to go live?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure. You know, what's the plan?" And he's like, "We're gonna go live right now." Like, I'm in the middle of dinner. Like, can I have 30 minutes at least?
Mhm.
And he's like, I guess we can't." Fuck. Okay.
Helix has a question. Does anyone know if the NFA does get repealed, does the registry get deleted? Items on the registry get removed? Question mark. Almost certainly not. Again, it's one of those things where the government giving you back your money or removing information on you, very, very difficult to get done. There might be a way to like file a court order to get the information struck from the record. Like, you can have that done in some cases, like for a minor or for like infractions a long time ago, you can get things hidden or struck from the record, but it usually takes a lot of money to do so. And I mean, if you have a passport, they already have all of your information, right? If you've ever been fingerprinted for anything, they already have all your information. So I know people freak out about the tax stamp registry thing, but like if you post to Instagram ever, like they know exactly what you own, what it's set up like, all that sort of information that you give them for free, right? So I know some people are more worried about it than others, but I doubt that they would ever delete it.
Even the frequent traveler deals like Global Entry or blanking on the name of the other one. But you end up signing some paperwork there that I think gives them access to a lot of private information that people don't realize. It's kind of a deal with the devil.
Yeah, 100%. And we actually got one more guest. Perfect timing for our next topic. We have Christian. How's your night going, sir? Uh-oh. Oh, he froze up there for a second. How's your night going, man?
Good about y'all.
Yeah, good. Let's see here. Despop says, it's like how they don't have a list of guns you bought, but they will occasionally show up to someone's house suspecting them of gun trafficking when they buy a lot of guns. Yeah, well, we've heard I don't know if you guys have ever heard this, but like ATF agents will go to a gun store and like take pictures of 4473s, and I'm sure that those get put into a database somewhere. So while there is no official registry, it's obvious that there are official registries. Like Reno May's address has been leaked by the Californian government twice, because you have to everything you have is attached to your concealed pistol license, right? And then that has to be stored with your local government, which then that got leaked twice. So there are lots of like pseudo registries and probably almost certainly a unofficial registry for sure.
Yeah, the with them showing up, like anytime that you purchase 2 pistols or more, it automatically sends a notification to the ATF.
Mm-hmm.
It automatically prompts them for basically the same thing as a SAR report for banks. It's a suspicious activity report. It's the same thing for firearms. buying multiples at the same time, buying so many within so many days.
Yeah, well, that's another thing that a few years ago they came up with a clarification of who is and is not an FFL, because essentially what they were getting at was a lot of you guys are buying enough firearms where you should actually be an FFL, and so we can randomly, arbitrarily decide whether or not you are an FFL and have been dealing like an FFL and can charge you for, not having that official paperwork. Like, so for instance, if I buy 100 guns in South Dakota where I live and then go sell them all to private sellers, that technically is legal, right? But you can frame that as, well, actually he was acting like an FFL rather than just selling off a collection of guns I didn't use anymore. So there's a lot of gray area there where they can, if they feel like it, screw you over a little bit.
100%.
Yeah, and Washington ATF agents don't F around either. All right. Well, moving on from that shortly, this is kind of the main topic of the night, I think. It is going to be the Iraq veteran 8888 question, so to speak. So, Iraq veteran 8888, OG gun tuber, been around for a very long time. He's gone through a few different phases or whatnot, but he's definitely one of the OGs, so to speak. Now, recently, he's been getting a lot more outspoken on X and Instagram or whatnot about what he sees as problems in America, in the community or whatnot. And he's been upsetting a lot of people for his somewhat controversial takes, I guess, because he's been calling out a lot of the people behind some of the things going on in our country. And he's now kind of seeing the repercussions of that. So this is just an email from Borelli that is terminating his affiliate links, and he emailed them back with no response. Allegedly, coming from the inside, he also had to cancel his Iraq Veteran 8888 range day, which is a pretty big range day that a lot of YouTubers go to. They have a lot of vendors there. Allegedly, they had to cancel that due to lack of vendor interest, is the claim going on there. But if we scroll through now, a lot of the stuff you'll notice is his X page is essentially just a affiliate link marketing scheme. But really simple things like this. Like, this is his regular take. Dual citizens should not be allowed to hold office. I think that's actually a fairly reasonable position, but that would unfairly or fairly affect one country more than most. I think we all know which one. He has some better BBB passes. Epstein list disappears. We might talk about that in just a minute. Lots of generic stuff. Country over war bucks. Again, just pretty normal takes. But then there's a few times where he calls out individuals or nations or whatnot. And it's just, I guess, a little bit too spicy for the internet. So the title or the thumbnail says, "What did it cost you?" And whether or not you agree with IV8888, I actually do like that he's willing to put his money where his mouth is, so to speak, and actually take a financial hit to speak out against what he dislikes, right? There's actually something there that I really like. Even though I don't particularly agree with any of his gun takes per se, I actually like the fact that he is willing to stand up, right? And take a bit of a hit financially.
Yeah, I mean, it shows that, I'll agree that some of the things he says about gun stuff, I'm like, interesting. But I mean, standing up for what you believe in and in a formal way like that, shows that you're willing to stand against the tide. Sucks that he had to, get his bottom line, hurt because of it. But, it shows that he's not going to cower just to make some money. In other words, very based.
Yeah, and I mean, we all kind of know like what gets you in trouble and what doesn't. Like, you can make fun of Italians all you'd like, but there's a certain other group of people that will get you into a little bit more trouble than others for calling out for when they do bad things, right? Nope, not that one, Richard. It is what's it? It's what's a good word? Anti-mobster, there's some word there that you could use for it, I'm sure. But yeah, most everything that he does nowadays is just affiliate links. And I mean, lots of people do that sort of thing for their marketing. That's how they make money or whatnot. But yeah. Any further thoughts on that, gentlemen?
I think it's awesome that he's actually standing up and being like, "Hey, why did you cancel me? I know why you canceled me. I just want you to tell everyone why
Yeah.
you canceled me."
Yeah, I need an actual reason. Don't just vague post about it.
Vague post.
You know
Well-
what though? I find it interesting that he's still got PSA affiliates though.
Well, allegedly, like he makes good money at this stuff. I've heard numbers as high as 6 figures for some of the big PSA affiliates, like six figures per month. Sorry, to be clear,
Whoa.
for some of the PSA affiliate guys, like the top 6 or whatnot. So these guys pull in some serious money from that. So I mean, you could say, well, he has a lot of money, so who cares if he loses a little bit? He's been doing this for a very long time, and he's been very, very successful at monetizing it.
I do find it a little bit ironic that you can notice certain things, but if you notice problems with the Jackal, then boop, you immediately cut off. Notice problems with the AHC, boop, cut off.
Yeah. I mean, there's some of that. I think, yeah, PSA is sensitive to PSA problems. They don't care about anybody else.
Nope.
Yeah, I never
Right.
took Iraq Veteran 88 very seriously. I also never really had a problem with him. It always just seemed kind of, you always knew what you were getting with him.
Mm.
I never took his
Yeah.
gun very seriously.
He had some cool older like legacy gun tube stuff, like the old, how far will a 9mm kill? And you're like, I mean,
Yeah,
this is,
Oh, right.
we'll see what this is about, right? Like, it's kind of interesting. Somebody's, pushing the envelope or 22 and all that. But recently he made his, it was kind of funny. The recent video I saw of his was the My Ultimate AR. And it was just like a 10.5 Daniel Defense with like a Neotech magnifier. And he didn't even have a sling or iron sights on it, no light. And I was like, all right, seems kind of like just in a Daniel Defense ad, but hey, I guess, you could definitely have worse setups.
Yeah, there are worse ways to go about it. I mean, that's a lot of GunTube content, though. It is just content for content's sake, or for
just
talking about
marketing.
whatever product. Yeah, a lot of it is, and I think he was one of the first guys to really get it down to a formula, I suppose, like a 10-minute review where he shoots a bunch of water bottles or watermelons or whatever it happens to be, and then move on from there. It's like 200 rounds in a day, finish your video, and you're good to go.
I think his original formula was the gun gripes. That's what first really started getting the channel going, was him and Barry doing the gun gripes, where they were just filming videos from inside the counter at the pawn shop. And some of those were fun, but I always thought that they were satirical, and until later on I find out that they were actually serious about some of this stuff.
Mm.
They also did the burn downs, which were kind of cool.
They did,
Yeah. I remember the burn downs back in the day when those got like 2 million views on YouTube or something stupid like that, right? Not anymore, but
Well, Golden Webs, he's doing them now.
yeah, but I mean they're not getting pushed in the YouTube algorithm like they would have been back in
absolutely
2012 or something like that, right?
Absolutely not.
It's a completely different market. And also the gun community has kind of moved past, in a good way, moved past some of the sillier content that's out there. It's not just about blowing up an AR or blowing up X gun or whatnot.
Yeah, I do think that burn downs are useful still, but it's kind of like redlining a car. Like you're accelerating wear on a very excessive degree, which isn't inherently bad, but I don't think it's the be all end all either.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and I just think it's one facet of a weapon's performance, right? So it's like a lot of the Golden Web stuff. I'm like, if this rifle does 1,104 rounds and this rifle does 10,000 or 1,064, it's like, what's the real difference there? Nothing. Nothing at all.
Yeah,
It's so irrelevant to anything you're ever going to do. Not to mention, it's still just a one-off test. So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
it's fun to watch, I guess.
Yeah, it's fun to see when will this thing explode or fail because it can't be heated that much.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people are like me. They just watched it for the catastrophic failure just to see what the fail point is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all there is to it. Like some of them, I couldn't believe how much the barrel was bending before it finally blew out the side. It was amazing to see that the rounds were still going down the barrel with that much of a
right with a hole out the side. Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, Randy has a good point. I told Golden Web in person this burn downs were meh because it's all around barrel thickness. It's like what has the highest round count? It's a Geisley 14.5 heavy barrel cold hammer forged barrel. It's like, yeah, it's the heaviest barrel there, and it lasted the longest. Now, on a little bit of a sillier note, we have what may be the most
oh my
see if I can blow this up a little more. We have the greatest darn it. I wish there was a better way to do this. We have the greatest rifle setup of all time.
Wow.
I don't know if there is something that could be better than this. I think we may have actually reached peak AR. And we have other pictures as well. And I don't know which one's better, the one on the bottom or the one on top.
Oh my god. Is this a meme?
Sure.
There's no
No. This guy was arrested with all of this in his car.
Oh no.
In Mexico.
What if
so let me read this because it's gonna get worse. A U.S. national has been arrested in Atlacamulco, a municipality in the state of Mexico, northwest of Mexico City, after authorities discovered a cache of military-grade weapons, their quote, not mine, and what investigators believe to be a falsified CIA identification credentials. So this guy had fake CIA just papers in his car saying like, oh yeah, I work with the CIA, bro. According to early reports from Mexican law enforcement and local media outlets Reforma, the arrest occurred during a traffic stop or checkpoint operation when officers noted suspicious items inside the suspect's vehicle. Upon inspection, security personnel found assault rifles, tactical gear, and ammunition consistent with military use. Again, whatever that means. I think there's like 22 rat shot or something in the car. The individual reportedly presented documentation claiming to be a CIA operative, but Mexican authorities have stated that their credentials appeared to be counterfeit. I want to see what the papers actually said. If it's just like scribbled in like John Doe, CIA agent number 7 or something like that. During the arrest, the suspect sustained an injury. Officials have not specified whether it was self-inflicted, sustained during a struggle, or accidental, and was transported to a nearby hospital under police custody. Mexican federal investigators and the Fiscalia General de la República, FGR, have opened an inquiry into whether the suspect had any links to organized crime, arms trafficking, or unauthorized intelligence activity within Mexican territory. The U.S. Embassy in Mexico City has been notified and is working to confirm the individual's identity and citizen status. The seizure of high-powered weapons and false intelligence credentials has raised immediate security concerns as Atlacamulco is known as a transit corridor for drug and weapons smuggling routes connecting central Mexico to western states. Officials said additional security checkpoints are being established in the area and the suspect will be transferred to a federal facility once stabilized. So this, oh no, oh my gosh, that's wow.
They were comparing him. They said, "Hey, glad he could make it onto the panel today." Comparing him to Chris a minute ago.
Oh yeah, that side profile. Actually, dude, I should Photoshop you in there now. That would actually be very funny. But yeah, so fortunately we have a full evidence table. So we can kind of see exactly what we're working with here. So,
brother,
we have what might be a PVS 14 on one of the helmets, though.
It looks like a fake Chinese, a fake Chinese. The front end of it, that weird offshoot cap thing, that looks fake. That looks like a Chinese digital night vision setup.
Yeah, it might be something that just looks like a PVS 14. He's got like Temu vests with just or ridiculous attachments on them. 2 battle belts, and yeah, these rifles. So you were kind of right about the carry handle. So it's a carry handle, pick mount, reverse scope mount to a SIG MSR 1-6.
Jesus.
With about 7 inches. Yeah, it's the I have a where's the goobers?
It's also on a braced pistol too, which is just great.
Yeah. On a braced pistol, we have what is assuredly assuredly a fake PEC 15 mounted to the side of this Chinese quad rail. Let's go back to the other picture real fast.
He's got a front sight post, but the barrel doesn't seem to go beyond the post.
Well, so I don't know how that's even.
going on?
I don't know if he cut it or what. So the bottom one, it has what looks like UTG rail panels. So it's probably one of the old Chinese UTG like insert quad rails, 2-piece quad rails. It has a knockoff Atlas bipod, I want to say. And yeah, so I mean, the odds that scope is even a real MSR 1-6, it's probably some Temu knockoff of a cheap budget scope. And then you have a front sight base with no barrel. So he must have cut it off. He must have cut it off at the front sight base.
Hey,
And then
that's just his recce retro future carbine
CQB
build.
rifle. Yeah.
Pistol, yeah.
It's got to be you need the magnification so you can identify a distance, but you got to have the height over bore so that you can do CQB with your giraffe neck. The laser, it's just perfect. It's just perfect. Now the top one I think might even be worse. So the top one, it's funny. The top one is definitely a short barrel with a stock, right? Some sort of red dot, a backwards EOTech, and maybe a thermal clip-on up front.
Is that what that
I
is?
saw a comment
That's
about
kind
that
of
rifle.
yeah. It looks
was
like a thermal
how you
clip-on, I
save-
guess.
It's like how you save inventory space in Tarkov.
Yeah, put everything on one of your guns, right? And then it has, I remember these flash hiders. So this is like a muzzle brake flash hider that's literally like 4 inches long,
Yeah.
because it has like finned ports out the side, and then it ends in a 4-prong flash hider, which does not do anything because you have the brakes like 2 inches in front of it. And then there is, actually, I know that light. That's one of those double headlights from underneath. I need to find this now.
Yeah, that's
With a Armaspec grip, Magwell grip, I think.
I think those are Fab Defense, aren't they?
I don't know.
I've
who
never
makes
used
them.
one.
Yeah, I've never used one either. Yeah, wow. It's does he have a red dot behind his EOTech, or is that a magnifier?
I thought it was a magnifier, but
the other
can't
picture
tell.
doesn't really show it better. I think it's
he's
an
clearly
optic.
never used it because you can't use an EOTech oriented in that direction. So
Well, it's got to be fake, right? Because on this side, you actually see that it does have the third button for night visions, but there's no way he spent that much money on like an EXPS 2 or whatever.
Yeah,
it is,
it's like
right?
some Chinese adjacent
sorry.
knockoff or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And we haven't even talked about everything
wait,
else.
he's
on
got
the
a
table
brass
yet.
catcher too. That's on the side. You see that the black
Yeah.
mass of the
Yeah,
brass
yeah, yeah.
catcher. Wow. Whew.
Both
Okay,
of them have
so-
brass catchers.
The light is
Oh.
something like this. It is one of the dual head lights, I want to say. That's what that looks like to me. Because it definitely has
Yeah,
2
I
heads
see
on
it.
it. So it's got to be a dual head light. I have no idea what that IR digital night vision thermal camera thing is. But this one, the short one, the obvious short one, that has a stock on it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they
then
both
on
look
the-
short. Yeah.
They're both short, but the one on the right is supposed to be short. The one on the left was probably cut down. Like that's the
Yeah.
only way to get an FSB out that far, because it has to be. It's pinned to the barrel. Assumedly,
Well,
it's pinned to the barrel.
Not
Unless
necessarily.
it's a one of those faux front sight blocks where the
Yeah.
gas is underneath. But even then, like why and how and who and what?
don't
the
ask why.
fuck?
That's not a rational
Yeah.
question at this point.
Yeah, the longer I look at this,
Oh,
the
yeah,
more
you're
my
right.
madness meter goes up.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's amazing.
Oh,
That
dude, I didn't know
screams
that they made a weapon-mounted light based off of the clamps guy from Futurama. Jesus.
Yeah, Wall-E or whatnot. Yeah, but on the right, we haven't even talked about this. He has 4 Glocks or 4 P80s, I think, because I think those are the SAR9s.
No, I just what it looks like. I don't
no.
know. I actually don't know. It's just my guess.
Because
I
I
would
kind of
imagine
think
it's
they're
black.
P80s. I think they're P80s. because that gray frame, and then they have the tan frame, which you could get back in the day from P80. I actually had a gray framed P80 26.
Okay.
And then they have either O lights or O light adjacent lights with goon tape on them, which is how you know he's a serious operator.
Yeah.
Now, one important thing is that some of the magazines are obviously 22 mags because they have that cutout in the middle. So he brought two 9mm Glocks, two 22 caliber Glocks, two rifles, quote unquote, and a bunch of shotgun shells.
Yeah, no shotgun.
But no shotgun. Unless one of these is secretly a 410 shotgun upper. But I doubt that very much.
But why would
They look
be
like 12 gauge
12-gauge
shells anyway. Or 20
Yeah, those
maybe.
are 12-gauge shells. No, those are
Well,
12
yeah,
for
this
sure.
happened in Mexico. So this guy, assumedly American citizen, puts all this in the back of his truck and goes down to Mexico for something like, if true, if real, obviously not CIA, just a very mentally unwell person who wanted to go down to Mexico and just happened to get caught. Wild.
Yeah, mentally unwell is what I would call both of those builds.
Yeah,
He
perhaps
only
the
went down there
worst
with
of all
28
time.
rounds.
Oh,
He went
he's
down there
also
with
got
28 rounds of 5.56.
awesome,
hilarious.
dude. He also has one of those like folders on the top AR. He's got one of those like Sylvian arms or law
you're
folders too.
Oh yeah,
he's
it's
got one of those
folding
on there as well.
Just as much garbage as humanly possible, and it has that same like fingered grip. I think you might be Fab Defense or whatever it is
Yeah,
grip on there.
yeah.
But yeah, Gentleman makes
$2.99
two of
at
the
one
worst, which is probably where he got them from. Gentleman makes the two worst ARs of all time, gets asked to go to federal prison. So yeah, now weapons charges in Mexico, no joke, horrible. Don't do that. Absolutely retarded. Know a guy who went over the border not realizing he had a firearm in the car and just got screwed for years and years and years, unrealizing that, because it's not difficult to go over the border, just not realize you have a gun in the car. If you live in Texas, you drive over the border for whatever it happens to be and just forget that you have that item back there, get pulled over, it gets found, and congratulations, you want to do 10 years in a Mexican prison?
Bro.
There was a whole diplomatic incident recently. It was my most past anniversary, I guess 2 anniversaries ago. I was in the Bahamas with my wife, and at the hotel there were some folks. I think they were part of the ambassador's office or maybe one of the senators, but basically a whole diplomatic group had come down because some kid had traveled to the Bahamas accidentally with like a couple 9mm rounds in his suitcase, didn't even realize it. They were just stray rounds, and just the rounds, no gun. And they were threatening like 7 years of prison. And so there was
because in some of these countries, it's like the ammunition, like each round carries a specific sentence or something stupid like that. So you get one charge per round of ammunition because you're not allowed to have a quote unquote like military caliber.
Yeah, that's how it is in Mexico.
Wild.
Yeah. It's like they can have, I don't know the specifics, but like they don't even regulate 22s, so you can have like a full auto 22 pistol if you wanted.
Mhm.
But as soon as you step it up to 9, that's a military caliber, straight to jail.
Yeah. What I expect to see spaz on the news. That's just mean. But no, yeah. So Americans can be kind of bad about this sort of thing too. They tend to travel abroad thinking that everyone else's rules are the same as theirs, or that like, oh, well, I'm an American, so it doesn't like matter that much. And like this happens a lot with certain substances, like over-the-counter drugs here may not be legal in the country that you're going to, and may in fact come with hard times. So it might behoove you to look up laws where you're going instead of just believing that, oh, well, it's America. Of course, everybody's going to accept whatever we have here.
And it could be the exact opposite of that. And you go down there and you see a doctor for something, you get sick, they give you something over the counter and you try to bring it back. And it's like, oh, now you're going to federal prison for importation of illicit substances.
Right. Yeah. There's multiple charges that can happen with that. So
it's
and we'll give up a arms dealer to get you back because you play ball mediocre or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Angel.
Well, all right. Well, let's get through some of these real fast before we move on to the next topic. Creek Shoe Operator for 199. Thank you, sir. Says late and gay. We were a few minutes late, and I don't even have anyone to blame it on. But thank you very much, good sir.
You can blame me. That's fine.
Yeah. The evil Miku made us late. Jake Zorp for 199 says free America from allergy oppression. Christ is Lord. Indeed, good sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, I was outside today doing some shooting like right before the stream. Had to rush home and get everything set up. But it is tis the season for sure. SV89 for 2 says, I don't know, how did you get that past the YouTube censor?
No.
How did you do? How does SV89 have the pass? He says, on that, esteemed gentleman time for real. Indeed. Thank you very much, SV. Andrew Vachon, hoping you have a good night, sir. For 189 says rate and gray around eye. All right. Thank you, Andrew.
Andrew.
I hope he's doing well. Joe Alganis 49 says 80 mortars down and all 10 fingers remain. There you go. Nice. My kids are always, I don't know if you guys have little kids or whatnot, but they're always like terrified of the fireworks for the first like half hour. And then after that, they're like, oh, they're all gone. Could we do more? It's like you were not having a good time 2 minutes ago. Now you want more. Unbelievable. Absolute Moonman for 10 says suspiciously not a Tedo Bear PFP, Richard. Well, I think the deal was one full stream and you got at least one full stream out of it. But thank you, Moonman, for the 10. I don't know if Richard wants to address you directly on that.
Well, I do have it saved for other streams, but we have this one and one more that I want to cycle through, and then those will make a regular appearance over the next couple of weeks, probably, because you guys were ridiculously generous that night.
Misfot TV for 189 says tar and feather our power lines.
Or power lines?
Tar and feather or power lines? Are we talking about politicians? Tar and feather or power lines? I don't know. That's dark, but thank you, Misfot, for the 189. Andrew Vachon for 499 says, "Oh, please backdate that. I bought 11 stamps in the past year. Yeah, that's a couple grand you could have got back if you just waited, good sir." But no, Andrew buys stuff like a madman, and then he sends them to me. So actually, no, keep buying things. No one you know of for 5 says Officer Nate Higgers. Reporting for duty. Good evening, all, and Richard. Yeah, hope you're having a good night. No one you know of. Absolute Moonman for 5 says, timeout. Is the GunTuber redneck based? Well, so he's based on some things, right? We don't have to agree with him on everything, but he is certainly based on some things, right? Thank you for the 5, Moonman.
Redneck is a slur, good sir.
Right. What's your preferred term, Richard?
Hillbilly.
Hillbilly. Okay. Logan sucks at shooting for 5 says Tarkov build. Yeah, it's that is something to behold, and I apologize to everybody's eyes for that. Art Vandalay for 189 says careful, rat shot is basically a tactical nuke. I've heard of people shooting rat shot like 9mm or 22 in their garage at like animals, and I'm like, I don't know if I would do that. It'd still be super loud.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Of course, a redneck would know. A redneck would know that, Richard.
Ah, man, it's fine.
Yeah, it ain't that bad.
Aw. Mr. 9x19 for 2 says, sorry you got busted in Mexico, Coke Man 2423. Yeah, if anyone would be caught doing that, it would be Coke Man. Thank you for the 2, Mr. 9x19. Misfot TV for 199 says, as a current Texan, I refuse to set foot in Mexico. Honestly, that is probably for the best.
Wait, but didn't he? I don't want to argue semantics, but isn't he already technically in Mexico?
No. Dr. Fuzzy for 199 says, like it or not, this is peak operator performance. Yeah, you wouldn't get it. Listen.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna clone that build. They're super good.
The thing about that is you could probably clone it for like $400 because everything's just a knockoff. So it's just like $30-$40 optics and just trash components everywhere. Put it on a PSA, Freedom lower and whatever upper they have in stock. But yeah.
The most expensive thing is going to be those UTG grip panels because you're going to go through probably 50 of them trying to get a couple of them that will go on and not split immediately. I have so many of them. I ordered a pack of 30, and I think I have like 6 left that didn't split.
Oh,
Just
That's awesome.
awful. Yeah, it was new old stock, but just absolutely awful.
damn. Absolute Moonman for 5 says Bean Enjoyers would buy every 38 Super we had when I worked at Cabela's. 38 Super. Are we talking about the competition round, or are we talking about the revolver?
38 Super is the what you would call the competition round. The revolver is a rimmed cartridge. The 38 Super is a rimless. It's basically 9 by 21 or 9 by 23.
Oh, okay.
It's just a longer 9mm. The reason why they have that is because it's not technically a military caliber, so it's still able to be used.
Oh, interesting.
I have a 1911 and 38 Super.
People actually make 38 Super anymore?
Yep.
Probably for that market is my guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're all restricted like that, yeah, people will. That's where that stuff flourishes. I'm trying to think what other.
It's actually not that expensive.
No,
you can actually get. You can get it, yeah, for 36 to 40 cents a round, which actually isn't terrible. So
yeah, the reason why it's just a slightly longer case, and it uses the same projectile and the same powder as 9mm. So it's cheap to make overall. It's just they put a little bit of a markup on it because they're not doing.
Yeah, I mean it takes the same bullet. So if you're reloading, it's super cheap then.
Yeah, I have dies for it and everything, and I have enough stuck piled up from when my grandfather was reloading that I'll probably never have to buy anymore. But I will probably still get some defense 30 Super 38 just to keep in it, just because.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a fun cartridge. If you've never shot it, you should try it at least one time.
Yeah, I mean, if I can, I might end up buying a 38 Super gun for competition purposes at some point. So that's just interesting. So, now I've left this on the screen for a minute, but as you guys can probably tell, a bunch of people reported it today that allegedly there just never was a Epstein client list, which is doesn't quite mesh with what they've said before. So sometime between a few months ago and now the list magically disappeared, even though allegedly there was photos and videos or whatnot that did actually exist.
They're going to get released.
We hope soon. Okay. So
Any dates?
no, you know what it is? There are tons and thousands of videos.
Yeah.
And it's all with little kids. So they have to go through every one.
Right. So there's no allegedly, it's like I had all this stuff on my desk. It's all ready to go. We're passing it out now. We're trying to go through all the victims and whatnot to today, like, oh, there's actually nothing. There is actually no list, and it's never coming forward. So just forget about it right after we signed the big, beautiful bill.
That's a little odd, considering the prosecutor in the Maxwell case in the, I believe it's the Southern District of New York. The prosecutor, her name was Moren Comey, if I'm recalling correctly, which you might recognize that last name. Her dad was former director of FBI James Comey.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, she is the prosecutor who requested that the records be sealed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she did get charged, but I don't know if anybody paid attention because later on her sentence was reduced greatly, and it's just kind of flew under the radar. Nobody really published anything about it when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I am not tracking the situation, so that's wild.
Yeah.
Who was that Republican influencer? Was it DC Drano or something where they had that photo shoot of all the
yes. I remember that where they all were holding up like, we just got this from Pam Bondi and we are about to be publishing this in the next few days. Again, Pam Bondi herself said, listen, guys, it's coming. It's on my desk right now as we speak. Right. Fast forward just a little while and no list, guys.
She screwed the pooch on that one because what she released had information redacted that had already previously been released
Yeah.
by other open
Redacted.
source. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, hold on, wait, you're releasing less information than we already have. You did this as a PR stunt. Everybody's pissed. Fix it, make it right. And then suddenly, oh, whoops, it doesn't exist.
Dog, why is this the first article that pops up? The Hindustan Times. This
So-
when you Google Pam Bondi list, this pops up first. How their SEO optimization must be off the charts.
Oh,
I have had a
man.
lot of that lately. A lot of the stories whenever I go looking for stuff, it's always some Indian source.
Yeah. So there was no Attorney General Pam Bondi is facing scrutiny after a memo from the Department of Justice said there was no evidence that the late convicted sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein, kept a client list or was murdered. The memo, first reported by Axios, said investigators found no incriminating client list and no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals. It's also said footage from the Manhattan jail where Epstein was being held when he died supported a medical examiner's finding that he had died by suicide. So, and they've both changed their story, both the FBI director and Pam Bondi on the Epstein suicide. The whole story has changed multiple times, right? It's all nonsense. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all fake and gay, and you're never going to get an answer about it ever because that would implicate too many powerful people and upset the boats, so to speak.
Sounds about right. Nothing ever happens.
Yeah, put it all on nothing.
They're still going to have to answer to God, man. We're all going to die one
It's
day.
true. Yeah,
So-
yeah. You never get to fully escape it. You might
Yep.
get away from it here for a little while, but not forever. Yeah, and there's been so many different stories about the video itself, that it got deleted, that the footage was missing, that the power went out. Like, the story has changed no less than 10 times. So whatever the truth is, I think the only thing you can know for sure is that the official story is incorrect. All right. Well, let's see here real fast. Now, a few days ago, Surefire released this TLR7 clone, which is interesting. They announced this a while back, but essentially, the Surefire, what's their small one, the XC or something like that? Not super popular. I think the TLR7 had kind of been beating it out for a while now. So they decided to just clone the TLR7 and make it compatible with TLR7 holsters. And the only reason I found that this story was somewhat interesting is because the Streamlight literally just sued Harbor Freight for copying their light design one for one. Now, the Streamlight and the Surefire, if you didn't have the lettering on side, the average person probably wouldn't know which one is which, even though Streamlight does obviously have the very distinctive silver ring around it. But Surefire was like, you know what? That design, that form factor, actually really good. So we're going to make a light that fits your holsters, uses your switchology, and just go from there. And it's the performance on it is pretty good. It's like 550 lumens, 8,000 candela, which isn't horrible for a small pistol light. So it's probably going to be fine for its target market, which is small, compact lights. The most powerful compact light on the market, I want to say, is the HPX or something from Streamlight, but then theirs doesn't fit TLR7 holsters, so you have to get a different holster. Whereas the advantage is, like the TLR7X and this new Surefire, they take the same holster, and holster compatibility with lights is huge. If you do not have to make a whole new set of holsters for your specific light, you can sell a lot more of them to people who already have lights or already have lights and holsters, but want to buy the more expensive, quote unquote, nicer brand. Does anyone here use a TLR7 at this point?
I do. I have a TLR7 sub, which I don't think they make anymore. I have that.
Yeah, I think they've all kind of been phased out except for the X or whatnot, because I have a sub as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I use
I've
the
got-
TLR7. Go ahead.
No, I just say I have one, but go ahead.
Yeah, I use the TLR7 HLX as well. So
Yeah. And then let me see if I can find a picture real fast. I know that they've made Their updated one is large. The
I have
the new Streamline ones.
I have the Surefire XC1, the very small compact one. The lights, piss poor. I mean, it is a flashlight, but barely.
Wait,
it's
which one do you
there.
have?
The XC1.
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 Oh, is that the Surefire one?
Yeah.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, it is a very
So
small light.
the HLX, it's the same body, but because it has the longer bezel to get the really high candela or whatnot out of it, it doesn't fit TLR7 holsters. So but the older 7X or the new what are they calling it? They always have so many X3-A, XC3-A from Surefire. Only a cool 270 bones versus like 130 ish.
Yeah.
On the Streamlight. And, I mean, Streamlight, say what you will about them. I think that they held up pretty well and they have a good track record at this point.
I mean, I've had that TLR7 sub for 2 or 3 years now. It's been on the Dagger, it's been on a Glock, and it's been on the RXM now. And it is a light that works, and it's everything I want it to be.
Yeah, for that form factor, it's hard to ask that much more. It's funny, mine is actually on a P320 at the moment. So fingers crossed as to which one dies first. But speaking of the P320, gentlemen, it has happened again. Now this comes from an inside source by Mr. Proband, but the US Department of Homeland Security is dropping, literally and figuratively, the P320 and switching back to the Glock G45. So I can exclusively report that Immigration and Customs Enforcement has decided to implement an agency-wide switch away from the 6-hour P320 to Glock's G45. ICE leadership has expended all remaining SIG contract funding on P365s, and when the contract officially expires next year, they will fully adopt the G45 department-wide, this will include all of HSI and ERO. This is a win for our country and national security. The men and women who keep our nation secure deserve a firearm that will absolutely not fire unless the user pulls the trigger. So just reading that. So apparently they had some contract funding left that they had to spend it. So instead of buying the 320, they're like, well, guess what? We're going with the 365. What's the newest one? The big one? The Fuse?
Not the X Macro.
X Macro?
Yeah.
It's the 17 round one. Which one's that? Is it the X Macro?
Yeah, I think it's the X Macro.
Yeah, they have way too many different variations of the same product. But yeah, they're like, we're going to go with that design over the 320. And then eventually we're going to be switching back to the G45, which isn't my favorite Glock. I would go with a different Glock over the 45, but I'm sure it's fine.
You know what? I hope that they start bringing out the 365 Flux. I want to see Ice rocking those on horseback. Do it.
Yeah,
actually, I have a specific banner for this as well.
Nice.
109 days exactly.
109 days since it has ended.
Countries.
Yeah, not a huge shock, as Ben Sager says.
Yeah, we had talked about it earlier in that Chicago PD also has dropped the 320 as well, and they have a department-wide. As of June 25th, they released an official memorandum or memo that all of their officers are to turn in their SIGs, and they will be reimbursed to buy a different pistol. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we had actually talked about this before it became public knowledge a little bit, like a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
There was one outlet reporting on it, but that they were going to drop it. Well, not actually drop it as they do there. But and is that Proband? That is, dude. That's Proband's video.
Awesome.
That's amazing. That's awesome that made it in there. What is this? This is on the We Are the Mighty. I wonder if Proband knows that they used this video for that. That's cool. So yeah, they cite Proband's video in there, and it ends today. Post, of course. LFD research. Hey, okay. Now I have to check. Am I mentioned in this? I am not. Darn it. They got LFD and they got Proband in there though. Perfect. And let me see, where do they actually say that they are going to be swapping out for another firearm?
I can pull up the memo if you give me just a minute. I'll send it to you in the private chat.
Yeah, that's no problem. Yeah, I know Washington State. I've said it before, but my buddy in Washington State, he switched out for their department, went with the Shadow Systems, the 920 model, one of the full size models, basically Glock 17 size handgun.
I think it's the
But over in
DR.
Washington. DR 920, is that the one? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys have looked at some of the P320 listings on like Gunbroker or TaxSwap or some of these places, but we're seeing sub $300 ranges for basically brand new P320s, even like some of the X5 guns, some of the nicer models with extras, and we're $300, $250. People are trying to get rid of them.
Just 4 months ago, SIG was selling them for $320.
Right, the base model though. Usually they'd be a little bit more than that. Like I paid $300 for a used 320 compact, not optics cut, nothing on it, pre-upgrade as well. Now let me check real fast because Proband is going to have a video coming out shortly, which he has not yet finished. Perfect timing. Thank you, James. Appreciate it. No, but Proband is supposed to be having a video coming out, but it is not yet out. So I can't talk about another developments. We will have to save that for later because Proband has the exclusive first rights on that.
Hell yeah.
But there will be an update coming shortly on another one of our favorite topics.
The memos in the private chat if you want to pull it up.
Oh, did you send it? Let me pull it up. Chicago Times via email. As president of Lodge 7, I would like to bring an urgent matter to your attention, which requires immediate action for both the safety of Chicago police officers and the citizens of the city of Chicago. 80 injuries resulting in the P320 since 2016. Wild. And 1,200 officers. So there are currently 1,200 of them in Chicago, which that's a lot of police officers.
Mm-hmm.
And does it say where they're going to be replacing the funds to get a new gun with?
I think it says at the end, Lodge 6 is willing to coordinate and work with the Department of transition to 3P20 and may offer, where's it say it at? As a weapon should not bear any cost associated with any change to the current practice. Somewhere in here, I thought it said that it wouldn't cost the department or the individuals any money to change.
I have seen that quoted before too, that they're going to pay for the officers like an X dollar amount, right? Like they give them, say, as long as it's under $1,000, they'll pay for whatever the switch is for, not only the new gun but holster, magazines, and all the accessories that come along with that. So that does not surprise me at all. All right, let me see. Takamo 21 for 2 says deregulated lasers when? Probably never. That's I don't know how to get that one fixed. You got to remember, it's like gun suppressors. That audience is like big, but pretty small in the grand scheme of things. And then when we get down to lasers, it gets so small and niche, even within the gun community, that there's not a lot of muscle behind that push to get lasers deregulated. There's just not. So we're going to be dealing with the FDA for some reason on lasers for probably the foreseeable future anyways.
Well, they don't want people pointing them at airplanes. So
dude, I guess this happens a lot. I would never think about this because it's just like obviously wrong, evil, and immoral, like not funny. But people, like, I was seeing a video of somebody doing it to a passenger plane and like seeing the pilot's perspective, and it's like, well, what are these assholes doing? Like, this is just wrong.
Yeah, it's pretty wild how shitty it is if you're in the aircraft and somebody's pointing a laser at you. If it's not a crappy laser, it sucks.
Yeah, and this was obviously a full power laser, and it's like like there's people on that plane.
Yeah, it's like what are you trying to accomplish?
To me, it's like almost just evil. Like it's not funny. It's not a prank. It's like you can't see while flying a plane with people on it. All right, that's why I don't know what the penalty is, but it should be the death penalty.
Should be terrorism.
It's borderline terrorism. I mean, you're potentially causing a plane full of like 200, 300 people to crash.
Yeah, you
Not
could.
cool.
They
Very
don't
unbased.
Basically by themselves. Can't you just throw autopilot on?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
you would hope. Maybe. I mean, it's funny until it causes the death of, like, even just if it was just a cargo aircraft and 2 people died. That's like still. Like, what are you doing? It's like throwing
Yeah,
rocks off of a bridge at a car.
My Amazon
Yeah.
package
Yeah.
might be delayed 2 days.
That's the real tragedy in that scenario.
Unbelievable. They're gonna delay all of your Temu rifle accessories.
Yeah, how am I gonna clone that dude's build now and make a video on it?
Yeah.
I could probably just go to gun show and buy it.
Yeah, you could find your local boomer hawking the same stuff for 10x
Yeah.
markup. Absolute Moonman for 5 says $5 more so Richards doesn't have to buy UTG parts anymore.
Thank you. Good
No,
sir.
he's still going to be buying those UTG parts. Don't you worry, good sir.
Just a couple. Their scope mounts are okay.
Yeah, they're cheap AccuSync mounts. I used them back in the day. They're fine. They don't have any
I have like
problems.
3 of them now. I like them. They're like $35 and they work.
JL Gonis 49 says, what was that ammo? Unseated 300 blackout? No, there was 5.56, 22 long rifle, and 12 gauge shotgun shells, what it looked like. But no shotgun. So I don't think the guy had all of his faculties in the right areas to be equipped to deal with whatever situation he was trying to go into.
So I have heard of people using 12 gauge shotguns for other things, basically improvised throwing devices,
Toe poppers.
Yeah, something like that, and with a little bit of tape and strategically placed BB. They put a streamer on it and they toss them, but I don't think that's gonna, he's got what, 25. What is, I don't know. All of that smells just off. Every last bit of that smells off.
Either that guy was like
had, like,
legit
I think he was
crazy,
just-
like legit wild, or it's some sort of weird operation gone wrong. Like
I'm gonna blame it on cocaine. Just say he took
Yeah.
all the cocaine and he went through all of Kel-Tec's catalog and he said, "I'm gonna do this."
I do want to have a
from here. I can
conversation with
say
that guy. That's the type of person I would like to like sit down and just have a conversation with about like, what are you thinking? What does this do? Like, what's your plan? Like all that sort of stuff. That would be interesting.
Kind of like the Charles Manson conversation.
Charles Manson?
Oh, did you never see that when he sat down with that reporter?
Oh, and he just started dancing? No, I've seen that.
No. The one where he actually had a mildly cohesive conversation with her for a short period of time, and then he just snapped, and then he came back. I'll have to show you that later.
Okay.
That was wild.
Art Vandalade 499 says, so wild he offed himself right before being acquitted for lack of evidence. Yeah, if he had only held out for a little while longer, there was a silver lining for Mr. Epstein.
Wasn't there like a little over a minute cut off from the surveillance video too? And it wasn't even his cell door in the surveillance video as well.
That's one of those things that, right? Because originally it was like it's all gone, and then it was like, well, there's a minute cut, and then people are like, well, that's not even the cell that he was in. And the story, every level of the story is wrong or has changed in multiple ways. So it's all nonsense.
They originally
whatever they say
about
about it,
2 guards too. They brought charges against the 2 guards there, and then later on they dropped those charges.
Well, didn't one of the guards end up committing suicide?
Was that the one who claimed that they were not paying attention because they were off jorking their peanuts?
Or one of them, one of them said that they were like asleep, and then yeah. It's like all the the more you get into it, the more wacky it gets. The more it's like I don't take any of you guys seriously anymore.
The reason why I think all of this stuff is true is because they wouldn't even be able to write something this crazy. That's why I think a lot of it is true, is because it's like, all right, nobody would ever try to pass this off as factual.
Never underestimate the evil and incompetence of your enemies.
True.
Coppertone 32 says, Mr. Patel is dating a Mossad agent. You know, everybody in Congress or in the government that are either dating a Chinese national spy or Mossad agent or some sort of honeypot operation going on. It's all bad. It's all bad. That would not surprise me at all, though. Just par for the course at this point in time.
Preferences: Fang Fang or Gal Gadot?
Wait, which one's Fang Fang?
She's the one who was allegedly slipping a finger up Eric Swalwell's behind.
Nope. What?
Oh, you
What are we
didn't hear
talking
about that?
No, I don't need to either. Oh, okay. So I'm looking at Fang Fang now, and she's 70 years old.
No.
Wrong
says
thing,
70.
thing.
Wrong one.
I don't know.
This one was like mid-20s.
Okay.
Just broke John's mind. He's like, "What is this congressman doing with
That's
this
what
old
popped
Chinese
up.
woman?"
Like, what is going on here? I don't understand. I don't want to understand. What is going on? Nope. Something. This is not right. Nope. I don't know
I'll find her picture and I'll send it to you.
Okay. The Dawn for 189. I love that picture with Yakub. Yakubian's greatest soldier. A little St. James trip would go so hard right now. Allegedly, there's nothing there. It's very boring. Nothing of interest whatsoever, except for when they found tapes or whatnot, and then they didn't find tapes, and then there were victims, but then there were no victims, and there certainly wasn't a list of who the victims were sold to or anything else like that. So apparently it's nothing. Please ignore.
Nothing ever happens.
Focus Trip's wife for 499 says Epstein list. Oh, I thought you said Schmepstein list. Honest mistake. Yeah, it's like East. I thought you meant West. Yeah. Thank you, Mrs. Tripp. Absolute Moonman for 20 says, need a silly willy. I need a silly willy. What you mean change to make anyone pay for it? Ooh, yeah. Hey, the U.S. government is going to be right up your alley, good sir. You said regime change in the Middle East? I'm your man. I'm your top guy. I'm regime change's top guy. Thank you, Absolute Moonman. My gosh. Huge ass for 49 says H1B1's found near my fishing spot. Time to buy some pigs. Sorry to hear that. Anytime anybody finds your fishing spot, that's a tragedy. Sorry to hear that, sir. Oh. Basecamp for 49 says, Focus, I'm late, but can you change my upper order to be an exact clone of that Mexican guy builds? I can make it pretty close. Yeah, I'm just going to chop the barrel and put an FSB on there. It won't be legal, but I will send it to you. Yeah. I was out test firing customers' orders before stream was what I was doing. But had another 14.5 6.5 Creedmoor build to get out, and every time I shoot one of those, I'm like, this is what a battle rifle was meant to be. Mitzvah TV for 199 says, I have 2 of the TLR7 HLX good flashlights. Yeah, I think for a small form factor light, they're probably the best on the market. Unless you need super extra duper performance for some reason. Everyday American for 5 says, some just needs to create the X300 with TLR7 switches. Maybe a low-key company like Cloud Defensive? Oh, wait. Yeah, do they make... I'm sure somebody makes aftermarket switches for the X300. I've never owned an X300, so its problems are not anything that I can attest to, but I'm sure there are plenty of companies out there that can make an aftermarket switch, or people working on surefire switches. You know, I don't know if we have any of them on the panel or whatnot. Maybe one of them could make something like that. Updated switches for an X300. Ridiculous for 2 says Ben Steger says the 47 Glock is best Glock. Yeah, I've shot Ben's 47. I couldn't tell the difference between that and my 17. Brantley Merriam just took second place in USPSA handgun nationals with a stock 17. So 17 versus 47. I'm not good enough to notice a difference, and it's still going to carry you all the way to the top if you're good enough. So either way is good for me. You might have a preference one way or the other, but I think they're both good. Now, that being said, I think they discontinued the 17. Am I right about that? So now you can only get a 47. So now you're forced to get a 47.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Oh no. Huge Ass 49 says, would you rather sit on a hot bus full of Indians or appendix carry a P320?
Bruh.
First one.
No, yeah, you got to take the first one. You got to, because listen, we've seen the video. It's rough.
Testicular torsion!
Yeah, yeah, we're taking the first one on that. Thank you though. Thank you for the 5, Mr. Huge Ass. Focus Trip's wife again, 49 says, "Ooh, shots fired intentionally." Thank you for the 199, Mrs. Strip. Everyday American for 5 says their police department went with a more expensive, less reliable Glock. Yeah, I wouldn't have gone with Shadow Systems. I'm not a Shadow Systems defender or enjoyer. I find a Gen 5 Glock to be as good or better in most aspects, and I don't have to deal with like weird QC issues every now and again. I know some people love their Shadow Systems guns, and they rep a lot of them. That's totally fine, but for me, I'd rather just stick with the Glock.
I
tend
have
not
one.
to be
I like it, but I would also just go with the Glock if I had to do it again.
which
mine
one do you have?
works well, but it's the Warpoint version, MR920, but it's specifically branded by like John Level.
Oh yeah, I remember when that gun came out. Yeah.
It
was like
a
19
sweet deal at
size?
the time. Yeah, 19 size. It came with a Holosun on it. Good value, and I think probably the only person alive that actually likes the trigger. But I'm weird with triggers, so I like a little bit of a mush. But yeah, no, it's fine. But I would just go with a Glock if I was going to do it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, even whether it's Blue Label or not, you can get Gen 5 Glocks now for in the mid 5s, brand new MOS.
Yeah.
So it's like a budget handgun almost.
Yep.
Thank you, Everyday American. Logan sucks at shooting, but he doesn't suck at doing math. Says it's actually been 122 days since it ended. It ended on March 7th, and it has been 17 weeks and 3 days since then. Yeah, I was just guessing on the number, and I knew it was 106 a while ago, so I just said 109. But 122 days since it has ended. Thank you very much, Logan, for the 5.
109 is funnier.
109 is a little bit funnier. Stretch 55649 says we need legislation to ban manufacturing of P320s. No, well, I mean, listen,
They just do it in India. Oh wait,
a company should be responsible for the product that they put out, right? So if it is deemed unsafe or inferior or at fault for some of these injuries, then I believe that they should just be held accountable for their actions, right? I don't think you need to ban them. You just need to hold them accountable for what they do, right? And again, I'm looking for that video to drop from Proband before the stream ends, but I don't know if it's going to happen. I think he's going too slow. But thank you, Stretch, for the 199. Huge Ass 49 says we need some common sense SIG control laws. Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. But thank you very much for the 199, Huge Ass. Ridiculous for 2 says, can the 320 chassis be used for anything else safely? I mean,
paperweight.
Safety is interesting because I think that there are safe, like objectively safe P320s out there, right? That are machined properly, the parts interact properly, they work the way that they're supposed to. I think the design is bad and can lead to deficiencies in a lot of different parts. Like there are so many different parts that can go wrong in a P320 to get it to go off that I personally wouldn't really ever want to have a 320 chassis. But I think that, you know, if you swap them, because I know some people make aftermarket fire control units and you can get different trigger bars or disconnectors or whatever it happens to be to quote unquote like make it more safe. So I think that there's ways to go about it, but I just don't like the design as a whole. You can use it for anything you want.
Why get
right? And that's good.
Why get P320 when RXM exists?
Yeah. And I mean, once the Ruger chassis comes out for the RXM, I think that'll make even less of an argument for the 365 or 320 chassis guns. Because I think that's the one thing that they have in their corner is that, well, I can get a flux rater for it.
Well, like I said, I have it on a good inside source that flux is actually about to drop their RXM chassis pretty soon. So,
Dude, and I'm gonna be so mad if I'm away for training for a month and they drop it and then everybody buys one and I'm stuck in the fucking sandbox and can't review it. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna be on suicide watch if that happens.
You were the greatest defender, and then they betrayed you.
And then my country took me from what was rightfully mine.
Absolute Moonman for 5 says, "What if I already work for the government and they won't let me do silly regime change? Oh, that's sad. What else are you doing? Where do you think my super chat money comes from?" Well, listen, if that is just a tax reimbursement from the government to me, like, I'm okay with that. I think that works out well. I hope you're working right now very hard. Top dollar for Mr. Moonman. Thank you for the 5, sir. Everyday American has a question. RC2 Mini versus B&T Rolex for a 14.5 short can. Well, as somebody who has shot neither of those, but I know the B&T is cheaper. It depends. I know that the RC2 is well regarded as extremely durable, decent flash suppression. The Mini is not too heavy. It's a little heavy for its size. But the B&T cans, I've heard decent to mediocre things about, so it's kind of a shot in the dark as far as that goes. But yeah, 14.5 short can, it's a good combo. Either way you go, you'll probably be all right. Or you could just be like everybody else and get a Polonium K. Just saying. Unbelievable. Trench's twin sister 499 says, "So proud of my brother for how he did in the Special Olympics this weekend." That's just so mean. Trent, that's the worst. That's the worst account yet. Trench's twin sister for 499. That's rough.
Oh man.
Was the Special Olympics actually this week?
I'm pulling that up. Jamie.
Ask Trench.
I feel like he would have told me about it.
He would have told you about it. What do you mean Trench would have told you about it?
It was March of this year, so it's coming past.
Okay, so that tard was lying to me. But speaking of hard R tard, gosh dang it! Thank you, Randy. So Ruger and Dead Air combined to make the hardest R can of all time. the RAR XD 30 Ti.
Brother.
Yeah. So Ruger recently they bought Anderson. Anderson died so that the Phoenix of Ruger could rise or something like that. But the first thing that they come out with is these new collaborations, right? We've seen these popping up more and more, companies collaborating with each other. Some would say cross-contamination or whatnot. But so yeah, we get a 30 caliber flow through titanium brake. Now I don't know why they're doing this. This seems stupid, for lack of a better word, because like it's just a Dead Air can that is co-branded with Ruger, and maybe Ruger will get like some sort of discount on it for some of their rifles or whatnot. But it's kind of just another Dead Air can. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts of this collaborative effort that we see in the market now, where multiple companies come together to produce a singular product. That's really, I guess it really is just more marketing. It's just
things,
a different
right?
way to brand the comment. Go for it.
There's marketing, and then there is, I mean, I don't know how liquid these companies are, but potentially the production costs can be shared by both companies depending on how they've arranged it. So there might be some benefits there as well. But yeah, I mean, I think those two things are the main benefits. It's perhaps sharing the cost of the production and then the marketing that they can share as well.
Right, because that actually complicates things, because now who gets the money from it though? Because if you're sharing costs and now we're revenue splitting as well on a product. And the thing with this, when it comes to manufacturing, I don't think Ruger is doing any of the manufacturing on it, because it's all just, Dead Air already has all of the manufacturing capability spun up for this type of thing. So I don't know what Ruger, if anything, is actually contributing to it, other than maybe just a name. Or possibly maybe they're trying to go for like a more hunting oriented audience, and Ruger has that brand association. So it's like, oh, I want to buy the Ruger suppressor to go with my Ruger American. Maybe there's some sort of like trying to reach a wider audience there, I suppose.
They
Yeah,
do
I mean,
show
there's a
it
lot that goes
on a
into-
bolt action and stuff. Like that kind of makes sense for the marketing.
Yeah, I mean, because they rated up to some of the Magnum calibers, like 300 PRC, 308, energy rating of 4,400 foot-pounds. So even 300 Win Mag would be fine. But yeah, I mean, it's a lightweight, relatively lightweight flow through, 12 ounces for a full size can. Titanium, $1,000+ can, yeah, $10.99.
I guess maybe
Which actually
this
isn't
is
too bad.
Maybe this is like they saw the HPA. Now people don't need to pay $200 for a tax stamp. So, boomer FUDs are going to say, oh, well, that doesn't cost me any money. I'll file some paperwork and I'll get a nice light can that makes my, my deer slayer more pleasant to shoot and whatever. I mean, maybe that's the trying to corner the FUD market here. I'm trying to, throw it all together.
Well, I think that this definitely had to be in the works long before the HPA and Short Act were going to be passed, right? This had to have been done months and months and months ago.
Yeah,
because this stuff would take a while to work out all the details. Who's getting the profits from it? Who's sharing the manufacturing costs? Who's doing the marketing for it? So on and so forth. So, but I mean, maybe it is just really good timing, just that the HPA happens to pass the time that right before they announced the can coming out. And I think, I don't know, I haven't really talked to you guys about this, but what do you guys think about the can market, SBR market next year when this stuff actually goes into effect?
I mean, I'll go first. I very unfortunately, we live behind enemy lines, so I can't even own any of this stuff anyway, which is super gay, and we're working on it. So I don't really know a lot about the suppressor market, SBRs, stuff like that. So I can't really give a ton of input because it's not really my area of expertise, I would say. I think that it will definitely, the market will have a little bit of a spike for sure. I think people will still see the paperwork and go, I don't really want to do that, but I think there'll be a good amount of people who are like, oh, finally, it doesn't cost. I'm not throwing away $200 for this. So I think there'll be a jump for sure. We'll see some cool stuff come out, and it'll be more commonplace. But I don't think it'll be like the crazy explosion like people wanted.
Right.
Well, it depends on how these lawsuits go, right? I mean, I think
That's true too.
If the paperwork is removed, then I think that you will see a jump. I mean, I think the sad truth is that the paperwork is just enough of a barrier to a lot of people where it's just one extra step. I don't know if it was that combined with the $200. Like, I'm just thinking for me personally, it took me a while to get suppressors. And the main thing I think was just laziness on the paperwork side, where it's like, I could go to the gun store, I could get a new gun, or I could go through this process that I didn't really understand. I'd never really researched it. I didn't know what was going to go into it to get a suppressor. And, the high that I got from a new purchase was the instant gratification I was seeking was satisfied by a new gun. And so back in my compulsive gun buying days, that was a significant thing. I try to be a little bit more, I'm a recovered compulsive gun buyer now. But yeah, so I do wonder how significant the $200 was compared to just the paperwork side of it, and potentially putting your name on a registry. I think that is intimidating to a lot of people as well. I don't know. Yeah, I'm curious how the lawsuits go. I'm curious how things move along in that direction. I think you definitely will see a bump. I don't know that. Yeah, I haven't talked to any suppliers. I'm curious how they're prepping for it. They're probably the best people to talk to, whether they're spinning up extra production. I don't know.
I'd say, oh, go ahead, Chris. No, go ahead, King. It's all you.
Go for it, bro. You're good. I'll go last.
All right. Like John had said, I think that if they remove the registry, you'll see a lot of the more homemade stuff. Like if they were to just take it away, then everybody who has an AR pistol takes off their brace and sticks on a stock and then puts on a vertical grip if they don't know what they're doing with their rifle. And then, we get a lot of that going on for sure. But I don't think until the homemade stuff can happen, I don't think there'll be a huge jump.
I mean, in theory, I think Hops made this point before, but the part of the reason why prices were so high on suppressors is because the only people buying them were people that were already willing to pay the $200 tax stamp. Like they already knew they were paying a lot extra for a product. So the only people buying them were people that, theoretically needed them or wanted them bad enough. Whereas you remove that extra $200, maybe you see the price starting to come down even more beyond just the $200. So maybe suppressors are now $400 cheaper. And that could make a huge difference as well, just from a supply and demand perspective.
Yeah, and then I think when we look when wait times, when e-forms came out and the influx of like purchases of suppressors, like it hit the market hard, and it was really hard to buy even like a Polonium K for a long time. But the only thing that scares me about this bill is the way it was passed. Is like the precedent it sets that if we can edit the tax to $0, who's to say another administration is going to come in and bump it to $500 or $1,000? That just, I don't know. Maybe I'm fear mongering, but that kind of is worrisome.
Well, we looked at that the other day, and I don't think you need to mute yourself unless there's other background noise, because I think it does a pretty good job of cutting out the echo.
Gotcha.
But I think we looked up the numbers the other day, and it's something like $4,400 when adjusted for
48.
inflation from.
Yeah.
It was something stupid. It's a
30,
stupid number. So if they come back and they're like, well, actually, we're just adjusting for inflation from 1934, and now it's $4,500 at tax stamp. Now I'm in the category where this actually affects me the most, right? Because I already have suppressors and SBRs. I have like 3 or 4 SBRs, a couple suppressors, right? So for me, it is just the $200. I don't care about being on a registry. I'm already on every list out there. But now a $500 can just got cut, 25% in price, basically. So it's a huge cost reduction for me. And what my hope is that I know of a lot of people that were already coming out with suppressors, but I hope that these new suppressor companies kind of ramp up production and come out with lines that are very competitive, $400, $500. And that's a very, very attractive price out the door. That was basically impossible beforehand, right? Because to get that price beforehand, you'd have to be a $200 suppressor or a $300 suppressor with a tax stamp added onto it.
Yeah.
But and keep in mind, these products are not particularly expensive, right? You could make suppressors for very cheap. So removing the barrier to entry, like even when he said when the e-form time went down from a year, because I bought mine when it was a year, right? Awful process. I'm like, this is miserable. Never doing it again, right? I gave these guys $1,300 and I didn't get my product for like the next July or something. I'm like, that just doesn't seem fun. But then once the e-form got down to like a week, you saw a huge influx where everything was out of stock. I was actually going to buy more suppressors, but everything was out of stock. So then I was like, I'll just put it off. And then after a while, I go, I don't actually need them, so I'm not going to buy more. But now that they're getting even cheaper with the very fast wait times, with the possibility of new suppressor manufacturers getting into the game, and I know of at least 3 new companies that are going to be coming out with cans in the next 6 to 12 months. So I think that this can be a really big influx, whether or not we get the full win. Now, if we look even further down the road, like you said, like 27, 28 timeframe, where we're worried about a regime change in there, you might see a second panic buy run streak like we had pandemic time 2020-ish time frame where suppressor and gun buying just goes off to record levels. Basically very possible.
You would hope that getting rid of the tax stamp does allow for really cheap fine suppressors, right? Because that was always basically it was essentially precluded by the existence of the $200 tax stamp, because you knew that you would have to pay that. So there was no point to make a really cheap, just fine suppressor. Yeah. But now,
well, even a cheap can, a $300 can is still $500.
You're right. Exactly. Right. But now if you get rid of the tax stamp, I would hope that you start seeing some really cheap suppressors that people just want to get into a can. Yeah. I've thought about taking Meteorite Concepts in the suppressor direction. They're just so easy. It's tempting, but I do wonder if kind of missed the boat. There's a lot of companies that are doing that. But yeah, it's like, especially with 3D printing and metals, those are really good now. There's a lot of cool things you can do. But yeah, getting into it, it's just hard to know whether the right route to go is just really cheap suppressors that are just do the job, or if you should start going into like the complicated fluid dynamics, actually my brothers are the engineers, so they're the ones who can actually speak that language. But trying to make something really innovative, some cool flow through cans, that kind of thing. But the potential is out there right now. It's not that hard to get into, especially with the $200 tax stamp reduced. And if we start to see some of the regulation go away with the lawsuits, I mean, that's a huge changes.
I think the $0 tax stamp made a good foothold for this lawsuit that's going on too. So there's hope.
Yeah, that's what
it gives them a much stronger standing, right? Because there is no tax on the tax stamp. So why is there a tax stamp, right?
Yep.
It is essentially just a pseudo registry at that point.
I don't think anybody's going to be. People think that companies will jack up their prices by $200. I don't really.
I have heard that as well.
Yeah, I think maybe in the short term they might, but I think the competition of the fact that now your what was $500 suppressor, you're going to charge $700 for or whatnot. But people are making cheaper suppressors because now the proportionality of paying that $200 isn't there. Yeah, companies might, but I kind of doubt it. At least I think that they won't.
I think a couple companies will raise their prices in the interim because demand is going to sell out of stock. Because I don't think the suppressor companies actually spit out like 1 million suppressors. Like I think they spit out enough to keep things in stock, but they don't want stock sitting there for long periods of time. But when you get an influx of say 20, 30%, whatever that jump is, January 1, I think that you will see some companies raise prices slightly to try and keep stock or to try and cash in a little bit. But in the long term, they won't, because all it takes is one company to not raise prices and suddenly theirs are so much more competitive and selling more. Right.
I don't know.
I don't know how much I believe the companies will raise prices thing.
Well,
in the short term possible.
One specific company, someone asked I believe it was the CEO or the owner, one of the two, directly. They said, "Hey, are you going to raise prices now that they are removing the tax stamp?" And he said, "I don't know. Maybe. It depends on what everybody else does." And it's like, all right, I get that. But then he immediately replied back with, "I don't want to look like an asshole. I don't want to be the only one and look like an asshole." It's like, all right, well, you just did that.
Well,
right?
I think that they are looking at their bottom line, of course, because they're seeing suppressor companies should be looking at this as a huge payday, right? And so the guys that raise prices, they will see probably stagnant sales. Like it'll stay the same level. You'll get increased demand, but it'll kind of stay at the same level because they'll price themselves out of the market. And then some of the guys will just take advantage of the extra demand, and so they will look cheaper by comparison. So it is kind of a Mexican standoff where everybody's looking at each other and they're like, well, that company is raising prices. Well, that company's not. So it's like, well, how much stock do I have? How much can I sell? How much can I make? Like, because here's the thing. If you're maxed out at production, right, and you can't even keep up with what you're selling, you might as well raise prices.
Yeah.
Because it's going to level out.
I want to say it was Otter Creek who said that they were going to do that. I'm not
going
sure.
to raise prices or
yeah, I'd have to go back through and look. Somebody sent me something. They were having talks with one of the suppressor companies.
Well, here's the thing: if they do raise prices, it gives an even better foothold for new companies to come into the market. So
100%.
Either way it goes, you are going to have access to cheaper suppressors, one way or the other. It is going to happen. If companies raise their prices, at least 3 new companies that I know that are like literal startups that made a CAD file, the 3D printed can, and figured it out, are going to come in and just keep the prices as what they were originally going to launch at and look cheaper by comparison, right? So you're going to still get access to cheaper suppressors, 100%.
Adam Smith's invisible hand will do its thing. No one owes you a suppressor at a particular price, but they'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well,
what do you guys think about the kits coming in from China, right? Because before they were cracking down on that really heavy.
Oh, like the Temu, like Wish.com shit.
I would steer very clear of that. It would be cool to form your own suppressors at home for free, right? All you have to do is mail off a set of fingerprints. That's it. And again, I'm already on all the lists. They already have my fingerprints. Doesn't matter to me. But because of the way that they do Form 1s now, where you have to implicate yourself in a crime to get approval for the Form 1 to make your suppressor, because you're technically not supposed to have suppressor precursor parts, but then they want to show them your suppressor parts before you make it. It's like, well, That doesn't seem right. But if they didn't have that requirement, because I did make a Form 1 suppressor back in the day, and I waited like 8-9 months for approval on that thing, and it was just a steel tube with welded baffles on the inside. The most simple thing possible. It was just a stack of like pressed tubes, basically. But yeah, I would like Form 1 suppressor manufacturing to be able to be easy and fun to do, but the ATF ruins all fun. So, because there used to be companies dedicated around selling you not suppressors, but like tubes, baffles, adapters, all that sort of fun stuff. And you could just buy the parts, send off your Form 1, get it approved, and you could build it in your home, get it engraved, and you're done.
Yeah.
That's it.
And if you get the deregulation, that's going to come back where you'll get just, companies specializing in their particular baffles or their particular guts, where you can buy a tube from one company, baffles from another company. I mean, you just don't see any of that now, but all that can come back.
Yeah, cool. I would love that. That would be my favorite thing, because that way there you can make it. If it also just if we remove the NFA restrictions, right? You can just do it all in your garage at home. No paperwork, no fuss, no nothing. And you get, surprise, surprise, you get a fairly decent suppressor. Because like the meme is the Maxim suppressor made in 1896 or something, and how it looks the same as the new Q Hypertech 556 cannon. It's like, at the end of the day, guys, it is baffles inside of a welded tube. It's not that complicated. Like 3D printing and flow through, very cool for a very different purpose. But suppressor technology, not complicated.
I want your guys' thoughts on this. Say like the HPA passed in its original draft and it didn't have to be registered anymore, and suppressor companies were able to get rid of their compliance compartments. Do you think they would lower prices possibly?
Well, it depends what you mean by compliance departments, because is that like a singular guy for some of these small operations, or is it like a team of people?
I've only had,
because it would lower costs, because it would lower costs at the FFLs. The FFLs would not need to maintain these like kiosks or have staff trained up on this stuff, right? And then it would also lower cost for the company, all the record keeping, all that sort of stuff. But again, I think that companies right now are trying to get higher margins. So because we've seen this year, 5 companies leave the market: Delton, Anderson, Sky. What's the other one that I'm thinking of that went under recently? There's at least one more, but we've seen especially on the low end, people get pushed out of the market because they're not able to maintain sales. So I think if there was some way that people could reduce costs, they would actually pocket that.
Yeah.
To try and stay solvent. Right.
Yeah. I just wanted your guys' thoughts on it, just out of curiosity. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fixed cost. It's all comes down to margins, I feel like.
Well, and suppressors are one of those things where you can make pretty decent margins off of a can once you get rolling on it. So it's I hope you actually see a lot of these companies make their own cans and just start ramping up their own manufacturing. Like, it would be more interesting for me, talking about Ruger again, if Ruger had just made their own can with their own manufacturing, considering that they bought all of the equipment from Anderson, so they have even more manufacturing capability now. I think companies should just spin up their own manufacturing capability to do this sort of thing.
I'd agree. I guess there's a little more risk involved, but I agree with you.
I mean, but you're already an FFL SOT. So, I mean, it's more to keep track of, but a lot of these guys that sell factory SBRs to LE or whatnot, like, you're already doing all of this paperwork. It's the same tax. True. I definitely get it for like a new company, like James, like creating a new suppressor company and having to go through all of that and get your FFL, your SOT, all your bookkeeping down, trying to find dealers for your suppressors, trying to get them on Silencer Shop or, whatever kiosk system or ship to home system like Capital Armory or whatnot. Nightmare, a lot to go through with. Right. But I think actually, speaking of that,
you just don't want to play the race to the bottom. Margins really are important just in order to do anything in the future. It's like margins allow you to survive, but also they allow you to innovate. Having a good buffer allows you to start having some of those extra departments that, so if one goes away, if your compliance department gets slimmed down, well, now you can start pouring more money into some R&D and some other things. And so, if a company can increase their margins, I don't think they're going to, because a fixed cost goes away, going to try to take away from the margins at all. They're going to see that as an opportunity to put some more money into something else.
The only exception to that might be like huge companies like PSA. Like PSA might come out with their own branded cans at some point because they bought so many other companies. They make their revenue is like $250 million a year, so they have enough money to throw around to like produce their own cans, and they can actually like set the floor on the market basically. Like their signature whatever Freedom can line could be $2.99, right? So, I mean, they're one of those guys that can operate off of tiny margins, whereas we've seen the other budget tier players get pushed out because they can't handle that. They don't have the volume, right? And it actually helps PSA when these other budget brands get pushed out, like Delton, like Anderson, because now they have even less competition at the low end. Yeah. Well, I saw that you sent this over, Richard. Very unfortunate. So this is Fang Fang. This is probably one of the most American photos of all time. Oh, shit. Let me blow this up. We have the penguin on the left, Fremont Mayor Bill Harrison, and a Chinese operative on the right.
This is before or after Swalwell? What is
Swalwell's up here. So this thing that Richard sent over. Oh shoot, I keep doing the wrong one. Gosh dang it. This one that Richard sent over, it has her with like a bunch of other people.
Yeah, she tried to
prosecutors, mayors, supervisors, state senator Bob Wachowski. So she was getting around, as they say. Yeah, she's I was gonna say she's been in a little bit of everything, but maybe it goes the other way around. I don't know. There's a joke in there. Yeah. That is American politics in a nutshell, right there. Right there. Thank you for that. Appreciate that, Richard.
I figured you'd like that one.
Yeah, classic move. Mike Wazowski. Oh, dude, that's so true. It should have been Mike Wazowski. That's amazing. All right, let's see here. So that's it that we have for tonight. We're just going to get through the rest of the sport unless somebody has anything else that they'd like to talk about before we move on.
No, the only thing I want to cover, I think we're going to put a dedicated episode to.
Okay, perfect. SV89 has some he has the pass apparently with you lose. Name them every time you can. Thank you for the $2, Mr. 89. Appreciate it, sir. Always demonetizing the channel as usual. Absolute Moonman for 5 says, more importantly than literally anything else, some guy is named Puddle of Chud in chat. Puddle of Chud is a great name. Somebody should make a spoof band called Puddle of Chud. Thank you for that, Absolute Moonman. Chuck McGill 6949 says, I paid for Richard to have a incredible gassy PFP. Yeah, we looked at that, and I don't know if Richard wants to go through with that. I had no idea what that was, and I unfortunately did Google that. I would not recommend anyone Google that. But thank you very much.
Yeah, I think
99. Okay, that's a way better image than some of the other ones. Jeez.
Yeah, some of the other ones were really bad.
Yeah,
all you get.
You get the hammers for that one, King.
Yeah, send the hammers to this address right now. Chuck for $2 says, how many people in the government enjoy backshots? All of them. Every single one. Except for maybe Thomas Massey. But Yeasty, oh my gosh, YeastyG49 says, trench grenade, tongue punch, my dookie maker. Wow, thank you, YeastyG. YeastyG again says, trench grenade, tongue my brothers. Wow, thank you, YeastyG. Oh my gosh, every time. Absolute Moonman for 5 says, I literally only watch these at work. I wasn't present for the 4th stream because I was off. Well, very nice. I hope you're having a wonderful night at work tonight, sir. Doing something very important, I'm sure, like plotting regime change in a small foreign country. Coppertone 32 for 199 says, got an Ambi Aero Pro lower. Seems nice. Yeah, I've never seen one in person, but I've seen them at SHOT Show 2 years in a row. So I know they technically exist, but yeah, I haven't actually seen one in the wild yet. So if you got one, awesome. Heck yeah. Chris, have you had a chance to play around with one of the Aero Pro M4 lowers?
I've never seen one either, except at SHOT 25. Never seen one.
Yeah, they released like, oh, we got this whole new pro lineup thing coming out, and it's like, oh, when is it coming out? I don't know, and it's $2,500. I think Hop did a video on their
He did,
rifle, and their
Yeah, he
full
did a
rifles
video.
are insane. They are more expensive than Geisley and DD for a full rifle. It's like 24, 25, something stupid. Like I'm a dealer for Arrow, right? So I looked up the dealer price, and it was like $1,800, and I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, it's just not going to happen.
No.
Ooh.
But hey, you got one? Awesome. It's about to become limited edition. Everyday American for 5 says, if the chassis isn't all metal and sub $500, then it's not worth it. The plastic chassis don't hold zero with optics. Yeah, man. Every time I think about some of these different wacky ways to mount an optic on these chassis systems, I feel like it should just go back on the slide. Just put it on the slide. It's fine.
Yeah.
It moves a little bit. It's for a PDW. I think it's fine. Unless you get something dedicated like a TP9 or the TP9 Pro or, well, that's nothing. We didn't even talk about that, but the form or the SBR removal that tax is also gone. So I hope that we see some new cool firearms get brought to market because again, their barrier to entry just got lowered. Like the new, I know PSA, but PSA is coming out with the XP9 or something. It is the TP9 essentially, but made by PSA, right? And so imagine getting one of those for $500 with a stock on it. Kind of cool. Darn it. Trench's twin sister for 199 says they are every day when your name is Trench. Every day is the Special Olympics. Yikes. Absolute Moonman for 2 says Rar can. Will Boxy sign it for me? Only if you ask nicely. The RAR XD can. Huge ass for 999 says, I finally took my PX4 to the range. Fantastic pistol. But I'm going to change out the trigger bar, hammer spring, and swap the safety from F to G type. When is Focus getting his Squallow? Next week, but I'm not going to be here. So I should start shooting my Squallow, not my Squallow, but the Squallow I'm borrowing for a little while in August. So it'll be a little while. It will be a little while. But yeah, that's the thing. Everybody says like, oh, I love the XYZ gun. That's why I changed out every spring to the Langdon Tactical Cajun Gunworks edition of it. And now it's great. It's like, all right.
I love the gun. I just changed everything about it out of the box.
Although I will say, having shot the Langdon PX4 with the Langdon guys, like it's really good. It's really good. It is a interesting handgun. Every time I'm at a show with the Langdon guys, I'm shooting their stuff because it is actually really nice. But thank you, Huge Ass, for the 99. Chat for 10 says, be like me. I'm just buying them anyways, tax or not. I don't let politics affect my gun purchasing decisions. Well, I think it's if you got the money to spend and you don't care, you don't care. You know, I mean, that's a Andrew Vachon move right there. But for normal people, like $200 is a significant savings. Like that's a case of 9mm for me. And as somebody who goes through, like, I don't know if you can see it behind me, but there's a case of 9mm on the floor over there. As somebody who's shooting all of that this week, like it adds up.
That's 10
thank you,
cases
Chad, for the
of ramen for me.
Exactly.
That's all I can afford right now.
A lot of slop.
Yeah, another good point. DM Luis for 5 says 2 stamp pews and integrally suppressed are going to be back on the Mini. True, that is a $400 cost reduction for integrally suppressed or just any short-barreled suppressed rifle, right? So I think because usually back in the day, I say back in the day as right now, it would have to be 16-inch pin and weld integrally suppressed or a 2-stamp gun, which 2-stamp guns have got to kill sales. Like if you have to go 2 sets of fingerprints, 2 sets of paperwork, 2 tax stamps, and you have to wait on both of them to complete. Not a fun process. Yeah. But now that it's free, right? You still got the annoying process, but saves you $400. Speaking of Andrew Vachon for $10, he says, this should finally kill the 30/36 cal universal can concept. Factor the cost of the can into your build and buy a can specifically for it. I have 2 cans in my junk drawer. Cough, 36mm cough. Yeah, I very almost bought, instead of buying 2 specific cans, I almost bought 1 general purpose can, and I am glad that I didn't do that. But yeah, it used to be a recommendation. It's like, oh yeah, just buy a 9mm can as your first can that you can put on anything, and then you don't like it on anything. So I think the Gemtech Trek 9mm can used to be put on everything. The YHM, I don't know what their 9mm can is called, but their 9mm can, because it's 5.56 rated, it is just their 5.56 can with 9mm port down the middle. That's literally it. But yeah, I think that the more specialized cans are going to be the norm now, instead of buying, like back in the day, I remember people would say, oh, never buy a 5.56 can, you can't put it on anything else. But not so much the case anymore. Fresh Pinochet for Tay gives the best helicopters a ride with the best clientele. Says, to be honest, I agree with the point about new companies entering the market. Even if you cannot make a 3D printed Inconel can, you can at least make a nice and inexpensive conventional cans. Yeah. And that's the thing. Conventional cans still work. I think the top tier cans are still going to be at top tier prices. But I think the floor has kind of opened up and it's moved down, right? Because there's a $200 removal. So there's a huge window of companies that can come in and fill in from $300 all the way to $600 cans. If you can make a can within that range, you're going to be pretty close to the bottom in terms of price, right? And as long as performance is fine, people are going to be happy. Now, one of the cans that does that the best is the Polonium K, because its performance is actually really good, and its price is what, 500, 550, somewhere in that range, depending on where you get it from. So it kind of does all three. Because the funny thing is, as crazy technical pseudoscience you try and be, at the end of the day, like, traditional baffles work the best for sound suppression. Right. There are some flow through cans that get very close, but when it comes to like flash, signature, whether that's IR or flash in and of itself, like traditional cans, welded cans, they tend to do pretty well. You can do a lot of cool trick stuff with 3D printed. You can make it super lightweight. You can make it super low back pressure, but traditional cans just kind of work, and have for the last 100 years. But thank you, Pinochet. Appreciate you, sir. Huge ass for 499 says, this must be Fang Fang on their alt account. Hello, Mr. American Cowboy. You want shower, sir? $20 shipped to you. Yeah, no. Listen, if China can make him for $20, we can make him for 100. Okay. Thank you, huge ass, for the 499. Logan sucks at shooting for 10, but he does not suck at credit card purchases. Says OCL Andrew said they're going to go up. Not necessarily that their cans would be going up in price. I think he was just talking about the suppressor market in general. Well, right. If you don't have more supply magically coming into the market, the demand is going to increase. So in the short term, prices rising is basically a done deal. I think that's going to happen until you get more companies entering and filling up that lower end of the market. I think it's just either everything is going to be out of stock again, or companies will raise prices, or more likely a combination of the two.
Yeah, I sent you the screenshot of him saying that they're going to go up. It's over on Discord. I also put something else in there interesting for you if you want to take a look at that later.
Gosh dang, I hate how it saves everything as default. Give me 1 second as I make my way through this technical difficulties.
Hey, at least your mic doesn't cut out when you go over to Discord like mine does.
Yeah, yours goes all robuddy.
I have no idea why it does that. I still can't figure it out.
Wait, sorry, I got really distracted. I just saw this other thing you sent me. What the heck is this? What the heck is a spinning muzzle brake?
So that's something that I'm trying to get Vintage Warfare to buy and put on a Draco. So just so that way he can say, I put spinners on my Draco.
No, it does. It spins at like 1,000 RPM.
Yeah, when you fire, it uses the expelled gas to spin the muzzle brake.
That's awesome. Can we see it?
I'm going to. I'll pull up an image as well as I'm trying to find a video of this thing real fast. See, now you got me all sorts of
TV. I'll find it for you real quick.
Gyroscopic muzzle brake. Nope. What? I don't see anybody just has a video of it. So if you find a link to the video, let me know. But
I got you.
Oh wait, I might have found it. Does it have a bunch of ports in it?
Yeah.
Is this it? Oh, what? Post it in there for you guys.
well, if you see it. So what does it say? Otter Creek just says simply, yeah, they are going to go up. But yeah, I think he's just coming to the same conclusion that everybody else is. If their demand goes up and they still have limited supply, the price is just going to go up. No, that's it. Oh, really? So that's kind of like it. That doesn't. It's not quite the same. This gyroscopic thing is a little bit different, but
Okay.
so this is the one that Richard sent me, the gyroscopic muzzle brake 250. It's $110. And apparently spins at entirely powered from the muzzle device, spinning the outer drum. It also keeps your muzzle over 200 degrees cooler, so it's like air cooled muzzle. Early September, so spinning at thousands of RPMs. Wild. We got fidget spinners, and then you sent me this one. So this is the prototype. Why?
Yeah.
Why though? Like, surely that can't help that much. Surely a regular muzzle brake would be better than that. All right. Well, thank you, Richard. Thank you for that.
I thought you'd like that.
Oh my gosh, SC89. You gotta remember, we're on YouTube, good sir. I can't say these words that you want me to say here, good sir. JMet499 says, here to embarrass my friend Spaz. He's jealous of my 2 ACOGs. I mean, ACOGs are pretty nice. There's a reason they've been around for 30 years now, 35 years at this point.
Give Spaz one of the ACOGs. He deserves it. Don't hoard 2. You can only look through one at a time.
He can have a little ACOG as a treat. Oh my gosh. SB9 says, salute to my word warriors. My heart goes out to you. Yes, my heart goes out to the chat. Thank you very much, SV. Chuck McGill 69 says, does this $0 stamp start on January 1st? That's what I've heard. I've heard January 1st or October 2nd. So I don't know. But it will eventually take effect. It's the October?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be the first of the year.
First of the year. Okay, yeah, that's I've heard people yelling it's 90 days, which is like October 3rd, or it's first of the year. Either one of those. It's going to be in the next 3 to 5 months. Yeah. It will eventually happen. Yo, Focus, don't know if anyone has actually received an HTX-1. I have yet to see any reviews for it. HTX-1. Which one is
the primary arms?
TLR1, right?
Oh, you're right. Yeah. The primary arms HTX.
Oh, okay. The red dot. No.
Well, so I was told by Steven that they were going to have it available second quarter, which we're technically still in the second quarter. So I know Garanthem shot it for like 3,000 rounds at one of the invites, but other than that, that's the only footage I've seen of it in action was him and Steven shooting it. Shooting one of the prototypes. So it's going to be finicky, though. It's the first American-made dot by Primary Arms in their new manufacturing facility. So if it takes an extra 6 months, I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if this comes out SHOT Show 2026. Because I guarantee you they do not want to have the first American-made product that's $600 to $700 for their first red dot come out and have problems. Yeah, I guarantee they do not want that to happen because that will kill the product launch. Nobody is going to buy a $700 dot unless it has a track record like Trigicon. Okay?
Yeah, that would absolutely
that's what you need. It needs to be as good as Trigicon for that money. You're asking Trigicon prices.
I did find the video of that thing shooting and spinning, but the company that's producing that is also taking pre-orders for a double-barreled 12-gauge suppressor.
Okay, so
I put it in the private chat on. I should have put it in Discord. Sorry.
Oh, you just mean this one right here?
Yes.
Oh, it's the same company making a double-barreled shotgun suppressor.
Well, they made at least one. They're taking pre-orders for them. It's $1,000 per pre-order deposit. And
What gun is that?
that is the
Smith and
DP.
Wesson. Yeah.
No, that's the DP. The DP12, I think is what it's called. It's a double-barreled 12 gauge. You pump one time, it loads 2 rounds. You pull the trigger twice, you pump again. It has 2 separate mag tubes, 2 separate. But no, the Smith and Wesson only had 1 barrel.
Oh.
The Smith and Wesson was not a double barrel, double tube.
Yeah, people say in the chat DP12. Interesting.
Yeah. Gassy Richard bringing up DP on the channel. It scares me.
I was mainly just bringing up the $1,000 pre-order deposit for a double barrel 12 gauge suppressor, but sure.
That is
right after that double barrel suppressor was the spinning muzzle brake, so I thought you might enjoy that.
Right. So this is the TFB. Somebody said it was at the 420 mark. So that you see it in action here.
Yep, there you go.
This is what I was looking for. So thank you, Luke.
Yeah, that was the. They showed the clip over on.
I have to watch this one now because I must have missed this episode. I want to know what it does. What could that possibly do?
So they're saying that it spins the gas spinning helps keep the muzzle climb down, and I'm not sure if they've gotten into the whole centrifugal force and the gyroscopic effect trying to keep the muzzle in place, but I'm sure that the marketing guys will eventually get that far with it.
All right.
Is there any impact in the spin on the flash suppression?
Well, it was sparking in daylight, so let me pull it back up again. You could see it sparking in daylight, so I don't think I don't think it's going to do anything for flash suppression. I mean, that's not terrible.
It's certainly better than some.
Yeah, it's not muzzle brake bad. So maybe if you're like, well, I want muzzle reduction or muzzle rise reduction, but no brake, maybe this is better than that. I don't know. For $125, it might make a funny video though. So maybe that's something I'll try out at some point. Maybe I'll put it on an FRT and see how it does.
Ooh,
yeah, I was gonna say, would you get it spinning really fast?
Watch that
yeah. Okay, that should be fun actually.
I still say it needs to go on 2 Dracos, so that way your video title can say I put spinners on my Dracos.
On my Draco, yeah. Mitzvah TV 49 says spinning muzzle brake, more like lawsuit when it flies. Yeah.
Put the little wings on it like those little fireworks and let it like a little propeller.
It's a secondary projectile. Dual stage takeoff. Mitzvah TV for another 199 says, great, now guns have fidget spinners. It's 2025. All of our guns have fidget spinners now.
Look at the bright side, though.
Did get a little bit of forward propulsion to counteract the recoil from the spinning. Just put some propellers on there.
Well, they have
propellers on here.
It brings it again forward while it's recoiling.
Well, but it maintains it after you're done firing. So because it's still spinning, so it's still pulling even if you're not firing.
Yeah,
this is funny though.
Really weird.
I thought you might like this.
I'll order one in Chrome. Yeah, can I get one in Chrome? Oh, of course they do.
Yes, the TFB,
course they do.
Or I'm sorry, the TGC video that I linked to you a minute ago, it actually had the Chrome one on the gun firing.
Oh, did you send me the wrong timestamp, or is that for a different?
That was where the suppressor started. The muzzle device was right after the suppressor.
You know, they always do this where they're trying to show off their muzzle brake, but then they show it with like a really overgassed, wonky setup rather than like a nice shooting rifle or something, because you can see the shells like going almost all the way forward on it. Mm-hmm. So like if you're gonna try and show off your gun, you should set it up on a cheater gun to make it look even better. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, that's funny. It has been about long enough for the fidget spinner generation to now be old enough to buy rifles. Yeah. Absolute Midman for 5 says, if it weren't for Guna is our word, anime gambling games, nobody would remember the DP12. Dude, I don't want to know what degenerate lore is out there on the DP12. Not even going to think about that anymore. But thank
None
you
of those
words
for
were in
that,
the
Mr.
Bible.
Moonman.
I was not aware that there was degenerate lore. All I was aware is that it's the goofy double-barreled, double-tubed shotgun.
Mm. Yeah, a guy asked me to make. Sorry, a guy asked me to use it to make a Venturi device like a Lewis gun shroud.
Oh,
Spinning
okay.
gun shroud.
I
Yeah,
could-
well, actually, I want Red Hand to put one of these on one of his uppers. I think that would be very funny. Just Some Space Cowboy has a question, and he wants it answered for $10. Says, what do you guys think is more important, the location of where an item is made or the price? I can understand not wanting to send money to the CCP, but if it saves $200 plus making in the Philippines, I don't care.
Ooh, this is from 2 streams ago.
Yeah,
the
this
Trench
is-
versus
this-
Proband.
Yeah, the
war.
the Trigicon versus Holosun debacle. So, like, I have a Holosun 507 comp right here. It's on my desk. The only reason it's not on my competition gun is because I'm doing a review of the Vortex comp dot, which I think is slightly worse. And then I have a Trigicon RMR HD, a $800 optic, sitting in a box over there because it's not very good and I don't like it very much. So the hot take is that the 507 comp is the best competition red dot on the market, like bar none. It's my favorite.
Didn't you kill one?
The 507 comp? No. I had it come loose on my crappy Glock slide.
Oh,
It was an aim surplus slide, right, with no like posts or anything on it. It came loose during a class. And then I shot Ben's. Ben had his Ronin Tactics 507 comp, which is actually that's the best version of that optic. But
I thought it died on you at night.
I don't think so. Mm-mm.
Okay.
I had a
No,
407 die on me once. I think it was a 407.
yeah, so I think both things matter, price and location it's made. Like, I think there is some real meta reasons to not want to support Chinese companies, to have that money go overseas. I think there's a lot of meta reasons to want to buy American and whatnot, even if the performance is good or comparable. So let's say you like the SRO, right? But it's $550, $600 versus the 507 comp, which is only like 320, 330, something like that. So I think it matters, but it's also how much free money do you have to spend? If you are on a budget, you can buy a pretty decent Holosun dot for about a quarter the price of an Aimpoint T2. You know, if you have, if you're limited on funds, which most of us are, you probably are going to compromise. And I totally get the argument that if you have more money, that you should try and support as many American companies as you can. But keep in mind that if you're angrily typing out "Buy American" on a Chinese iPhone, then I'm not quite as sympathetic to your argument, right? Because we all have to make choices about where we buy stuff from, right? If I don't do all of my shopping at the, whatever super awesome Whole Foods grocery store because I have to feed 3 kids, right? So it's a balancing act of who do we try and do the best that we can. We try and use our money in the best way possible. But if a place makes the best product, in my opinion, which is the 507 comp, I'm probably just going to buy those if I'm looking for a specific application, which is competition. Right.
And it does depend on the American company that you're supporting as well, right?
100%.
Right. That too. Yeah. It's like, well, what type of American are you?
And then you also have to deal with the people who are getting products from China and then they're assembling them here in the U.S. and trying to pass them off as U.S. made when it's really just slapped together here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the Romeo 4Ts and some of the other products I know are like quote unquote assembled in America, or mostly assembled in America or whatnot. Some of the parts are from here, some of the parts are from overseas. So everybody has that balancing act that they have to do. And I don't really judge other people for like, well, listen, I had to buy XYZ optic for my thing because that's where I'm at financially right now. I think that is a fine decision. But yeah, I think that where available, supporting good American people, American companies is the best. But it's not the world that we live in right now where I can buy everything that I need from American companies.
I have one thing to say to add to that. If you have to buy something that is made in China that you don't want to support the regime or whatever, look for it used here. There's probably somebody else who has already spent their money on it and is willing to come up off of it. And in which case, you're not sending your money directly to China, sending your money to another American who has already spent the money on it. It's a little bit better, and you'll probably get it for a better price because, right, it's used. So that's the only thing that I have to add to that, right? I've gotten a couple of Apollo Sun Dots, but none of them were ever new.
Yeah.
Well, and when it comes to the, in terms of prioritizing your spend, if you want to actually make a difference, your dollar's gonna go a lot farther supporting the smaller companies like Meteorite Concepts, or like companies that are providing niche products that are, you're actually supporting a local family-run company somewhere. Those are probably going to make a bigger difference than like supporting Trigicon as opposed to Holosun. I don't think that's going to really impact.
Or it's like buying a $4,000 CAC rifle that lives off of government subsidies. Basically, it's like, I don't know how much help you're to
I'm watering the
American
ocean.
businesses.
It's thirsty.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Space Cowboy. Ghibli Guns for 2 says, I stopped watching after the DP3. The casting. ... DP3.
We're
talking about DP12.
I don't know that I want to search that.
The cast. I'm not looking that up, GB Guns, but I will take your word for it. Quality degrades over time for sure. It's like what are we up to, the 11th Fast and Furious movie or something like that?
Bruh.
Just get worse over time.
They're not on the moon yet racing, so there's still room for expansion.
They just need to combine that and Jurassic World together, and then we'll have the ultimate movie of all time. Guys, got to stop. Andrew Vachon for 199 says, buy from an American company that hates you or a foreign company that made a good product at a reasonable price. I am a Aimpoint, Night Force, Trigicon, and EOTech whore, but they have a horrid value proposition. Yeah, actually, I have your Leopold is on the red right hand, and then your Night Force is on the SPR build, and also your Maul, which is like $4,000. So there's a lot of Andrew Vachon's bad buying habits right over here. But yeah, I mean, yeah, sometimes the foreign made product does what it's supposed to do at a reasonable price. And one of those companies happens to be Holosun, where just about everything that they make is a good value. Not all their products are hits, but a lot of them are.
Yeah, I like to support American when I can, but I'm also not going to spend $400 on a flashlight for my rifle. It's simply not in the cards for me. I'm sorry, Surefire. I just can't justify it. I'm sorry, but yeah. I mean, it's good when you can. Just be realistic with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If there's something comparable, if it's American, then sure, I'll buy it. But
I'm sure Surefire is devastated that they're not.
Yeah, I'm sure that the most autistic retard on the internet doesn't want to spend $400 on one of their lights. Sorry to disappoint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but again, it's just where you can support the companies that support you. I think that's pretty simple. Thank you, Andrew, for the 10. All right, now before anybody else says anything else, Richard, what do you got coming up?
There's going to be some clips coming up on the second channel. If you guys aren't aware, I run the Focus Clips channel. I take the streams, cut them down into bite-sized portions, roughly about 5 to 15 minutes usually. Makes it easier to ingest each individual topic, and you don't have to sit through 2 hours of us talking back and forth like retards.
People enjoy it. For some reason, people enjoy it, and they hang
I
out.
know.
So we
I
appreciate it.
I don't understand it, but I love them all for it nonetheless.
Bones, what do you got coming up?
I have, as I alluded to earlier, I have annual training with the Nasty Girls coming up. So I'm going to be gone for a month. It's going to be really fun and hot and awful in Southern California at NTC. It's going to be a great time, I'm sure. I'm working on getting one video up before I leave. It's in the works. I'm currently trying to track down a red dot for the PCC because I had this on it. I had a carry handle stack, and I realized I respectfully fucking hated it. So now I'm looking for a new red dot. I was like, wow, I love carry handles. I love retro. It's so saving money on me. I bought this red dot for $100 and I hate it. I don't like this. I don't run night vision, so I don't need this much height over bore. It's awful. But hopefully that's going to come out in the next couple days. That's what I got coming up. Then I'm going to be in the sandbox for a month with probably no phone. And if the Flux Raider comes out for the RXN, I'm going to shoot myself while I'm there.
You're going to be that guy down at the Mexico border found with like a bunch of surplus rifles in the back of your truck.
Yeah.
Well, James, I would ask you what you got coming up, but I kind of already know some of the stuff that you have here because you came out with some pretty nifty new products. Got the Saber grip, the pivot adapters, which I have on. Did I do it this time? I think I have them on one of the lights behind me right now. Your pivot adapters, and then you came out with a new momentary only tail cap converter. I don't know if you want to talk through any of your products or whatnot, but let me.
I appreciate the opportunity. So, the momentary only tail cap converter for anyone who has a Z68 tail cap and wants to convert it to only momentary. It's a great little design. We sell it for $13 if you don't want the little removal tool. We have a little removal tool that we sell for an additional $2. But you can use a 5.56 round to remove the device from the Z68 tail cap. But in my shooting, I found that the click-in feature is more of a liability than an asset. So I just wanted to delete that entirely. So we 3D printed a cool piece that just sits in there and it uses the lanyard holes to hold it in place. It's very secure. The feel is great. That setup that I have right there in that picture is fantastic. Just in terms of that's our Saber grip combined with the placement for the light.
It's all three products in one. There you go. That's marketing right there.
That's right. Now it's a great ergonomic tool. But just if you want to delete the constant on feature, that's the only option I'm aware of on the market for the Z68 tail cap. At a good price. And then the Saber grip is, it's kind of an angled foregrip. It's kind of it's not a vertical foregrip, but it's
hybrid.
Thank God.
The way I see it, it kind of fills that niche for the people that were using vertical foregrips as like hand stops. That's kind of the ideal person for this design because it basically, it'll contours to your hand more naturally. So it kind of is like an angled foregrip in that regard in terms of the comfort, but it still gives you that little hook at the bottom that allows you to get the leverage that you need to pull back into your body and bring the muzzle down. It's not for everyone. Some people, I think, John, you prefer the CAG from BCM, and it's a very similar design.
It's a little shorter. I think that's the only thing that I like about it more, right? It's just a little more minimalistic.
Well, exactly right. So the thing about the CAG is it's got a steeper angle, and so for me, it doesn't work with the way I grip the gun. The rule of thumb is the farther out you have it, the more shallow the angle can be, but the more you come in, the more you want to go almost vertical. And so this is kind of a nice in between that allows you to it suits pretty much all of my guns. It's definitely a piece that I designed for my shooting style. But I found in talking to a lot of people, it seems to work for them as well. So I'm excited. We just started selling them Saturday. Sales been good so far. Excited to see those continue to move.
And then also the pivot adapters for lights are fantastic because they actually allow you to move the light in any direction that you want. So it's you have Picatinny ones and M-Lock adapters for all of your scout mounts and stream lights. So whatever it happens to.
We're the only ones that sell just the adapter by itself that allows you. It's backward compatible with all of your old Pro style mounts. So if you have any Surefire Pro light will come with two mounts, one Picatinny, one M-Lock. So there's a surplus of at least 2-to-1 mounts on the market, plus all the third-party mounts from like T-Rex Arms, Arasaka, all these third-party Pro mounts. We get to take advantage of those by selling just the adapter if you already have a mount for it. So that's $38 just to be able to get that pivot functionality for your older style lights.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Awesome. And Chris, what do you got that you want to shield before we get out of here, sir?
Nothing much, man. Just living life day at a time. Been shooting USPCA lately. So that's really all I got going on. Yeah.
What's your are you ranked in USPSA?
No, I got a couple more matches to go until I'm ranked, so not quite there yet.
Nice.
I just purchased the membership for USPCA, so
Oh, cool. Awesome. What do you shoot for USPSA? What division?
Carry optics.
Okay, perfect. So that's what I'm as well. Excellent.
Yep.
But I mean, if there was something you want to show, it is possible that James, Chris, and myself might have a more theology-focused show at some point in the future. Not on this channel, on a separate channel for people that are interested in that sort of thing. And it's mostly spearheaded by James, and Chris is doing a lot of work on it as well. And I'm just kind of here for it. So I think that is something that will probably happen at some point in the future as well. I see Logan booing you for being carry optics in the comments. Unbelievable hater down there.
We did have a couple of suggestions.
Oh yeah, you're right. I will get to them. End on Rumble as well. Absolute Moonman for 5 says I would pay extra to give money to Ivan or Chang to spite the U.S. government. Yeah, there's nobody that hates the U.S. government more than the low level worker or even the high level worker at the U.S. government. Thank you for that. Just some Space Cowboy for 5 says I'd rather give $6 billion of my tax dollars to the Philippines to stand up red dot cheap manufacturing than you know where. I don't know what you mean. Is there another country that we send a lot of money to that doesn't give us anything in return? I don't know if that's what you're referencing, but thank you very much for the $5 Space Cowboy. And then on Rumble, because I forgot about these guys. Sorry, Rumble audience. Dogman Defense for 1 says donating to Bones TRT Fund.
Damn,
it's gonna get you through NTC.
Real. Yeah, that'll. You know what? Just in time too.
Bushmaster for $2 says my wife is very sick. She's been puking all day and has a fever. I wouldn't mind saying if you wouldn't mind saying a prayer for a quick recovery, we would all greatly appreciate it. Will do, Bushmaster. Let me write that down so I don't forget it for you, sir. I'm sorry to hear that. Is it possible that she is with a new addition to your family? I don't know, but I will write that down. All right. Thank you, sir. I hope you're doing better. And Dogman Defense for 1 says that Chris guy reminds me of the dude in Bratz Facts video who looks like Owen Wilson's autistic nephew.
God.
Just
First time I heard
What a
that.
statement.
Usually it's Mr. T. Yeah.
It could be worse. Guests do get called worse things on this show.
I'm sure.
All right. But with all that away, actually, I have a USPSA classifier match on Thursday, and I'm shooting every single day. I have been for the last like 3 or 4 days at this point. So I'm doing like 8 or 9 days in a row, shooting every single day, trying to get everything set. Because if I just do as good as I have been doing recently, I'm going to get my master's ranking on Thursday.
Nice.
Now, having said that, now on this live stream, I have jinxed myself all the way back down to B tier. But that's the plan. So maybe Thursday night, if I do good, if I do as good as I can do, and I have been doing in practice and in matches and whatnot, I should get my master's ranking on Thursday. So that should be fun. Other than that, I have video stuff that I'm working on, and I'm sure that there will be more to follow. But with that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for your insane generosity, for hanging out with us, for talking with us, for James and Chris for showing up, hanging out with the rest of the normies, with Bones and Richard. And with all that out of the way, gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you in the next one. God bless.